originally we were talking about doing the 2018 draft, but overwhelmingly from the Ball Discord, everyone wanted to watch the Ringer draft stream because Bill famously cooks on this one, similarly to the way that he did in 2013. And this will give us more of a perspective on kind of what the narrative around this draft was from the NBA community. Because I lied. I did watch one clip prior to this draft stream that we're doing here, where I actually watched it. It was very early in Zach Lowe being on ESPN television shows. And he was on the jump. It was Rachel Nichols, Zach Lowe, and Steven Jackson. And they were talking about Luka potentially falling out of the top 3 and how could the top 3 teams pass on Luka. And Zach's obviously talking up his talent and, just basically why you should consider taking him in the top 3 and that, all of this stuff is just ridiculous that people are floating out there. And I got a real kick out of it because Steven Jackson goes, it might seem easy in Europe, but this guy's really going to learn when he gets here how hard it is in the NBA.
Yeah.
Which was literally the two sides of the narrative. The very obviously, Sam has said this over and over again about the 2018 draft, just draft the guy who was the 18-year-old MVP in the Euro League that won the championship there, that was this essentially prodigy prospect. And then there was the other side that where even in 2018, people were still like soft Euro. It's much tougher over here. He's going to have a really hard time. And now it just seems so insane that we're 6 years in the future and to see what Luka's done. And
you need mentally tough guys like DeAndre Ayton. Is what you need, not these soft girls. That's the thing that pisses me off about 2018, because I was there, I was doing draft coverage for SB Nation at this point in time. It was boggling my mind that anyone was arguing otherwise. In my mind, this was another Anthony Davis level draft where it was there was clearly one guy you should take, and it was Luka, and somehow 3 professional franchises passed on drafting him, which is just insane to me.
I feel like this was the end of the that European stigma in the draft, because it was still a very real thing. I'm trying before Luka, I'm trying to remember who was the last European big time draft prospect who actually panned out and wasn't a complete and total bust. And Luka immediately, it was the Mavs drafted Luka. I remember just anecdotally, I was in college at the time. I was working at the newspaper and covering the Texas Tech basketball team. So it was the closest I ever watched college basketball. It was the most in tune I was with the draft. And it also had to do with the fact that the Mavs had a top 5 pick and everyone wanted Luka. That was 95% of Mavs fans wanted Luka badly. And we didn't think that we would be able to get him. So that's why whenever they traded for him, I think it was an hour before the draft started. Because I remember I was on the way home.
They're talking about it. We'll get into it in a little second. They talk about it at the very beginning of this stream as the rumors are floating out there. And then you get you don't even really get confirmation until around the time that the draft actually starts. So,
well, did you do any deep dive into what the rumors were?
They talk about it a little bit, but I didn't want to spoil it on here. So I'm also glad that we have a Zaire Smith expert in the house, because you covered this draft. Yeah. You were at Texas Tech. Yeah, and immediately my brain went to, oh great, the Zaire Smith pick that I will have to suffer through here.
Zaire Smith was it was kind of shocking. I remember just in the tech circles, a little shocking that he declared. First and foremost, it's outright declared and got an agent and everything. Was I'm going to the NBA. We're all like, oh, okay. Maybe we thought he might stay a year. And then him getting legit lottery buzz was a bit shocking. And of course he had the allergy thing, but
sure.
I don't think many people expected his career to really blossom in the NBA. Jarrett Culver was a different story the next year, but that's for a different time.
But also, I think that we talk about this all the time, and people make fun of me and Sam for this. Sam's draft strategy is more kind of draft the sure thing, and my draft strategy is take the home run swing, which is funny because Sam's a Celtics fan, and they drafted Jaylen Brown, and when we took the home run swing, we drafted Zaire Smith. So
yeah. I've hated every Celtics draft since 2013. I'd been recompensed appropriately. There's video of me being very disappointed with the Jason Tatum draft pick. So
Yeah,
you know.
and you were right. So
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's
correct.
it's obvious. You were obviously right. Malik Monk
I was
should have
thinking,
been the pick.
here's what I was thinking. I was thinking, man, this guy is not the best player on a championship team. Even if he does it, people will still doubt him. So we can't win. We have to.
There are people who might debate that. The
Yeah.
Tatum one still.
Yeah, we all know Derek White was the key to that. So
Yeah.
Will, if you were watching last week, Will says that I hated the Marcus Smart pick. I admitted that.
Yeah, you
I
did.
thought Rondo was the future. I thought we could. Slightly Biased probably knows all about having Rondo on your team post ACL tear.
Great times.
Not a fun thing.
No.
All right, so let's dive head first into this slightly, since you're new to the stream. If there's something that you really want to discuss, just yell out "stop" and we'll stop. But we usually just do Mystery Science Theater style rip over, unless there's something obviously very important.
Well, you said that they're going to talk about the trade, because I do have some context to add to it. That's just hilarious Mavericks related stuff, and just peak Cuban was that there was a lot of buzz that the Mavericks wanted to trade up to get Luka. Like that was a thing for days. And it was like reaching a point where that we were getting like basically the details of these proposed trades. And the big hang up was that they didn't want to take Kent Bazemore's contract. Like it looked like this was not going to happen because the Mavericks did not want Kent Bazemore's contract.
That's exactly what they talk about at the beginning of the stream, which is, but that is kind of a hangover from the 2016 cap spike, because he was one of the guys that got that contract, I believe, during that offseason. And that is so funny to see in retrospect, because obviously, if you really believed in Luka, like I'm assuming the way that the Mavs did, that is just part of doing business. But they ended up not having to take on the contract, if I remember correctly. No,
it was just picks for pick.
Yeah. So honestly, a good piece of business from the Mavericks, but let's get into the stream right now.
Or it'll crash.
We're good. I'm going to have to pull you guys away here.
There we go.
Everybody say hello. Hey. Among others, we got Jonathan Sharks, Kevin O'Connor, and Jason Concepcion here. And back from his book tour, he just wrote a Hamilton-esque musical about James Young's time with the Red Claws. It's Bill Simmons. Everybody give Phil the fist pump. Yeah.
Come on. That hurts, guys.
Welcome back, Phil.
It's good to be back.
Bill, are you expecting a lot of trades tonight? I feel like we've been hearing about it.
Our whole staff was paralyzed by this Dallas-Atlanta rumor. And then it turns out Dallas didn't want to give Wes Matthews. What was the trade? Wes Matthews.
Now they're saying there's future picks involved. They wanted like 2019 or 2020.
I think Cuban's floating all this, so it seems like the Mavs are up to stuff.
Yeah,
you're going to end up with Mo Bamba.
Yeah.
KFC's gonna defend it.
Early L.
Watch, man. I can't them talk to me about
That
trade
well
supposed
that
to
was
be Dallas moving up from 5 to 3 first.
Hold on, I will say the Mo Bamba stuff was very real.
That they
was
were
like-
actually interested in Mo Bamba at 5 is where they were picking.
Well, I'll say in the fan base it was real. Now, Rick Carlisle came out during Luka's rookie season. They played the Bulls or something, and he straight up said if they didn't take Luka, Wendell Carter Jr. was going to be who they drafted at 5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, obviously Wendell's career hasn't turned out, but I think that would have been a totally fine pick at 5.
Yeah.
Bamba would have been obviously a disaster. And
that was just the fan base was like, it was torn between trading up for Luka or Bamba at 5. Like that was the two options.
I admitted this to Tro when we talked about doing this one, that I was a Bamba guy. I can't dunk on Kevin as hard as like I want to in this draft, because I also was like pro Bamba in this draft. I had him like 3.
Well, I can dunk on him. I hated Bamba. I saw him in person when Tech played Texas. I was like, this guy stinks. Like this guy is 7 feet tall, and that is the extent of why he's going to make the NBA.
And it's still why he's in the NBA to this day. I just watched him for a season on the Sixers, and I see Clippers fans like being delusional about what Harden is going to do for him. And I was like, he's a bad basketball player. Also, in fairness, 2018, a very different time. He literally had a song about him.
True.
Yeah, Sheck West did more for him than like anyone, any NBA draft person did. Yeah,
Sheck West should be his agent.
He had the tools. He had the name. He had the song. Also, would have been great if he did go pick number 5 because we would have had Mo Bamba number 5. Let's go, folks.
Let's
yeah,
go.
that-
We're going
Bazemore
to Dallas.
and then it'll be Wesley Matthews in the 5th pick to Atlanta,
And
then
the
with the
33,
5th pick,
the second round pick.
and then with the 5th pick, Trae Young will get selected.
That's
by
sort
Atlanta.
of trading a Yugo for a tempo there, right? Like, I mean, with the Bazemore and Matthews contract.
Bazemore
here's
is way
the
better
thing.
than Wes Matthews. I'll put it at that.
Bazemore's better than Wes Matthews, but it does seem like some of the trades we've been hearing about tonight, Kev, specifically involve some of these onerous contracts that got signed 3, 4, 5 years ago, especially Chandler
26.
Parsons.
How dare you?
Yeah, but here's what I don't get. Why does Atlanta need to shed contracts? Nobody wants to sign with Atlanta.
I don't think it's
What,
about
they,
the money.
to create a cap space so they can sign Dwight Howard again?
I think it's more about it's about picking up an extra asset, getting
my
the guy
God.
they want and Trae Young,
Kevin
but
looks
then
so
they can
young.
use that
He
extra
does.
asset
But
to-
what's the extra asset? Wes
well,
Matthews?
no,
This is before the Elon poison.
Yeah,
Took him
you could
over
just
like
see that the Elon poison is just taking its toll like venom.
They're passing Luka Doncic?
Low T KOC.
Luka is just flat.
I do.
out.
I'm all in. I
Number
rarely
one
go all in on draft prospects.
Team Luka.
Usually I'm right when I go all in.
There you
There's
go.
Some occasional Emeka Okafor I don't want to talk about. But for the most part, I'm
Bill's good at what he does. He gets a lot of shit, but he
Yeah.
knows his
Another
stuff.
bad
One of the
back
great
guy.
centers of all time.
Another bad back guy.
Yeah, another bad back guy, just like me. I want to talk a little bit about this 3, 4, 5 range of the first round because it feels like nobody who's there wants to pick there, and that's what's causing a lot of the problems. Like Atlanta, Memphis, and Dallas are all like we're open for business. Is it the fact that they're not crazy about Young, Bamba, Jackson, the guys who are there, or is it just that they're trying to wring some picks out of people here?
I think you left out. It's not exactly a savvy bunch.
Murderers Row.
Is Bill perked out? He's like low end.
Dumbass team.
He's
Yeah,
chilling.
love it.
He does. At one point, I know he drinks a coffee, so maybe he needs to.
That's a tough turnaround.
Does everybody on this screen talk?
Uh,
That is a huge
I think
panel.
everyone up front does. I don't know.
What's
I
your
think
wish
people
list?
they just ask questions to the people in the
Just
back.
Any player that can
Okay.
contribute, that they can, and a trade, and for them not to trade with Memphis and bring in Chandler Parsons, which I think would be that's a bad mix. Chandler Parsons plus Kristaps Porzingis. I think it's a bad influence, and I hope it doesn't
We
happen.
were talking about the Porter thing. You think Porter would go there? Would you do it?
I would take Porter. Yeah, if
Do
he's
your
down there or
theory
not, I'd
about
take
why-
Porter.
Do
This
your
is a good
Porter
part.
theory for the Knicks.
Just registered him and tank again next year.
Would you take Porter over Kevin Knox,
Yes.
even with the injury
Yeah.
concern and the him thinking he's
Swing
Giannis
for
and
it.
KD and Tracy McGrady?
Yeah, I think you swing for it.
How,
Hey, shoot your shot,
I take
man.
it
Wow.
about your question. You would not do that.
No, I wouldn't. I have Knox one spot ahead on my rankings, but I think Kevin Knox is about a year younger. He's probably proven more thus far through his basketball career. Younger, I think his scoring ability, athleticism a little bit better than.
Okay, in fairness to KOC, obviously everyone was afraid of the MPJ back stuff, but to say that Kevin Knox had proved it more
Yeah.
is just not true. Michael Porter Jr. was supposed to be the first pick in this draft, and then he hurt his
Yeah.
back.
He was
He was
the-
the top high school recruit.
That was gonna be my point. He was the bluest of blue chip like high
Yeah.
school guys, and like with some of those guys, sometimes you get like Patrick Baldwin Jr. Like that doesn't
Sure.
always mean that you're like a good NBA player, but like when it's a guy where it's like he's missing time for like injuries like this, you know what I'm saying? Like it's usually a pretty good. Everyone knew Michael Porter Jr. was going to be good when he played. It was all
Right.
about like
Yeah.
how much is he going to like miss time.
I
Like,
know at 10, I wanted the two guys I wanted were Bridges and Mikal Bridges and Michael Porter Jr. because I was just like, there's no way that you're going to miss if these guys are huge. They can shoot. And MPJ a year before, obviously, #1 pick buzz. I was all in on the idea of taking that swing on MPJ. And of course it worked out for the Nuggets. I know obviously he's on a max contract right now, but he did help them win a championship. So
Yeah, I mean, I remember, again, anecdotally, just because, not KOC, that would be weird, but MPJ's name did get a good amount of buzz at 5 for the Mavs,
Sure.
just like in the Mavs fan circles, just kind of talking about who could be there. And it was pretty much like an absolutely not. That you just couldn't take a risk on the back. There was like concerns that he would never, ever be healthy in the NBA. Like just straight up
Yep.
would never be healthy. Because you just don't, 19 years old, 20 years old with a back injury is just kind of terrifying.
Yep.
So,
no,
and also Kevin Knox should have worked. I mean, he had everything. Like he's had the size, the scoring coming out of the draft. It made a ton of sense.
I can't say I was super plugged in but I was always just worried about the Sixers at 10, and it was common sense that Knox was going to be off the board. I just knew a bunch of people who were very low on Kevin Knox, and it was just due to the fact that he wasn't super productive in college. But he was also a guy that was, like you said, like everyone started taking swings on these wing style guys. And this is also, keep in mind, coming off Jason Tatum's rookie year. So everyone is looking for the next Jason Tatum because he was great as a rookie, balled out in the playoffs, helped the Celtics get to the Eastern Conference Finals, almost the NBA Finals. So that's kind of fresh in everyone's mind at this draft.
Robbie, yes, I would appear on Curious Mike, the podcast. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, no, reach out. If you know, I would love to follow Lana Rhodes if I could get on there.
Would love to pick
taking that one out of context.
Yeah, two peas in a pod. Me and Lana Rhodes.
Yeah.
For the Michael Porter, he might be
post-injury. Man. You think pre-injury he's better more like
maybe.
Porter?
Maybe
Porter was really athletic.
Do we actually know when
Shabazz
Porter
Muhammad.
started being injured too? Isn't that
That's how that's the question.
Shabazz Muhammad was once a top-ranked.
Shabazz was never like a Michael Porter.
Cook
He
charts.
went to UCLA.
He's 22
And
then.
he was exposed. and if Michael Porter had played this whole season at Missouri, maybe we wouldn't be talking about him as a lottery pick. It could have went that way.
There's a
You're
couple.
burying the lead. Poor Riley back here.
Oh man.
Yet again is going to watch his team have a what's the right word?
A catastrophe of a draft.
Is catastrophe strong enough?
Hey, they have a top player on their board. What's so concerned?
So they're
a
gonna
chance
probably
to take a
draft Bagley
franchise
second.
guy.
Riley, like, this should teach you to love things, but do you think that you got over emotionally committed
This is
to
amazing.
Luka in this whole process? And now that like a lot of people, don't you think Bagley's better than Luka? Yes.
There you go.
Tate thinks
Oh.
Bagley's
One
better than
shining
Luka.
pods in.
That's Cope.
I'm glad you're with me, Tate. Players, though.
All right, I just want to point out the college basketball guy thinks that Marvin Bagley is better than Luka. That's not Riley, but Tate is the one saying that. He is literally their college basketball guy.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's funny, the Bagley talk. I didn't know a single person who wanted Marvin Bagley. Like, that was the most out on the top draft prospect I can remember anyone ever being.
Chris Vernon is the only one I remember, and he also was at the Ringer.
Yeah, Vernon was like the only person. It reminded me a lot of like the Jahlil Okafor. Like it was the same type of people that liked Bagley in that draft, and again with Wiseman, like they had. It was the same like type of. You can't teach that like athleticism. He moves so well, yada yada yada, and it's like okay, but like, what else does he do?
At least with Wiseman, he didn't really play in college, and he legitimately had crazy tools. He's probably more similar to Mo Bamba, to be honest, where you can look at just like the wingspan and the overall athleticism and ability and say, oh, he'll be able to figure it out at the next level. Bagley was like a tweener big who was offensive first. And was almost certainly going to be DOA. Like we joke about this all the time where like we were big in on Zach Edey in this draft, and it kind of goes against what we've always believed in modern drafts. But the difference is that Edey is a legit 7'5" center that, is going to be able to protect the rim and rebound at a minimum in the NBA. And these guys, like especially Bagley, like he did not have the ability to, translate defensively in the NBA.
I remember not being convinced that that's what they were doing. I thought that this was all just a smokescreen and they were going to take Luka too. Like Ayton was the consensus number one.
Yep.
Like he was going 101. That was always kind of a guaranteed thing. I just couldn't believe that Bagley was going to be the second overall pick, because people thought this was a loaded draft class before it happened. Like this was like touted out as a really good draft. And Bagley being the second guy is just...
I know, that's what's so funny about it is like you have literally two MVP level guys that are drafted in the lottery of this draft, and Marvin Bagley was the second pick. It breaks your brain to think about it. But
a defensive player of the year too.
Yeah.
Oh,
insane.
Oh, well, I love Drazen Petrovic.
Oh, well.
All right, so there's one.
There's one. Thanks.
Riley, what do you think about what the Kings are in all that are going to do?
I think they're going to draft Bagley. There's no question, but I think I had an appropriate level of emotional commitment, considering this is our first time in 30 years to draft a guy who could really change the course of the franchise, and we're punting on that opportunity. So, feels great.
Shaka, though.
There's
Nailed
a couple of different rumors going around today. Porter dropping because of these medicals. I want to ask you about one, John.
This will be good.
this idea that the Sixers were looking to package Fultz with all their other picks that they had to get up into the top 4.
I want to know who's packaging. Like,
Yeah.
Right now they have an empty GM chair, and like you and I have talked about this a lot. Where
Brilliant.
I'm not. Look, nobody knows what you're going to get out of Fultz. If Fultz is the guy that they drafted, or going to become the guy that they drafted, and all of a sudden he's fixing his shot and he's working with Drew Hanlon here in LA, all of a sudden that's the guy you needed. You needed somebody who could put the ball on the floor and handle, because we saw in the playoffs with Bill's team that they didn't have enough handlers. They didn't have
can't even say the
enough
name
shooters.
of the team.
I won't say
You
it.
can't even say the
I'm
name.
contractually obligated to say it, and I'm not going to say it. I'll get fired on this show. But they need a ball handler and they need a shooter, so maybe that would be Fultz. But I'm not sold on that yet. So I want to know how they're coming to this decision, because ultimately, whatever they do in this draft and then in free agency could have long-term
Absolutely.
ripple effects for the franchise, and they haven't identified who's going to lead the franchise.
They didn't have a
forward.
GM during the draft.
You could potentially.
Elton was like at least in the office, right?
Yeah.
He was there, but he didn't scout at all for this draft.
Do you think it's important to have a GM during the draft?
He was with the Blue Coats.
That's true. Brett Brown's running their draft. He was coaching the team all
Hip
year.
Hop the Rabbit might
He
be
knows
coaching
as much about the
running
draft
team.
as I do. He just went on YouTube for 2 weeks. He was like, "Oh, this guy."
The draft of Nova, guys. Brett knows that.
So that's one pick. They're linked with the
I think
Bridges.
it's insane that Fultz would even be discussed in a
That would have been the good strategy, actually.
Well, that was the thing, is that he liked. Actually, I do want to give Brett Brown a little bit of credit. He liked Kuzma at the end of the first round the year before, and he liked the Nova guys in this draft. Now, are those probably coach picks because they're older guys that he can play right away? Yes, but if they had literally just stuck with the original plan, then getting Bridges at 10 and just sticking with him would have been better off. Anyway, rant done.
It's a player that you like better.
No, like when the Cavs traded Anthony Bennett, like clearly they were beyond red flags.
Yes.
Markelle Fultz still has a chance to be, I think, really good.
I agree with, because Fultz showed every.
You can tell Bill's tired.
What year was that? Was that year 1 or 2 of Fultz?
It was literally right
Year
after
one.
the year.
Yeah.
I feel like you're trying to sabotage the Sixers from the inside. This guy, I'm seeing it.
I was impressed by his speed. I just felt like his fifth gear was about as high as anybody
That
had.
combination of
Would not
speed
trade
and
him.
power and athleticism and feel and defense.
Right.
It's all
But
there.
whether
except
that's
for
the right
shooting.
team for him is another
I
question.
feel like I'm on Black Mirror.
I think they are trolling us.
No, I'm not
At work is an HR violation, for sure. But I think you have to at least see what he looks like after he works on his shot over the summer.
Yes.
To see, because like you traded an extra pick to the Celtics, who are
Yes.
already going to add 2 extra guys who are all-stars for nothing, and have this huge cache of picks and are set up for the foreseeable future. So at least see if this guy is going to be any good, because it says otherwise you're screwed.
He's
anyway.
going to be good. It's not like he's going to be a bust.
I love your confidence.
Currently a free agent still, by the way.
Simmons and Fultz together makes sense.
So one of the things that we've been talking about,
Not wrong about that.
Well, whenever the Kawhi stuff really went into red alert, was the idea of the Sixers putting together a package with Fultz, Dario, maybe some picks to go to San Antonio. That would certainly probably, if San Antonio has to trade Kawhi, it would go down easier than if I just can't see them trading him to the Lakers, even though the Lakers seem to be trying to put themselves in at least the public position to be a suitor for him.
I think we were talking about a Heat before.
Sixers.
I think
Yeah, the Sixers logo.
He's our representative.
I'm too fucking tired.
Chris Ryan,
In
Sixers.
that mode, like he's not just going to give Kawhi to some contender and ride out his 20-year Spurs dynasty with this crap.
Say what? Say what?
It would be a
think he
really
does.
You wanna go to the
strange
Lakers?
end note for him.
I think he takes the Kawhi thing to the brink.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, dude, let's go.
Yeah.
Like what we did on the website yesterday with where we parodied the Heat thing. I think that's how this plays out.
I've heard some executives around the league do think San Antonio could drag it out if offers are underwhelming at this point. Because
wait till February.
I mean, there's the fear that he leaves next summer, just like with Paul George. We saw what happened with that. They didn't even get a draft pick back. Granted, it worked out.
Well, look what the Knicks got for Carmelo just by dragging that into the trade deadline.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be somebody who's dumb or desperate enough to make some sort
He's
of...
right here. This is his team. We're crapping on the Knicks. Sorry, Jason.
What's the dumb and desperate rankings between Sacramento, Orlando, and the Knicks?
In terms of drafting for
The dumb and
trading for
desperate
Kawhi?
rankings. This is good.
That was the Kawhi teams at the time.
I was going to say, well, it is very funny to think about the fact that it's like, who's going to be the stupid team that trades for Kawhi Leonard, and then the Raptors did, and they literally won the title.
Won the title. Like it worked. Well, because that's the thing about the Kawhi trade is everyone knew what they're not saying out loud. Everyone knows he's going to LA.
Yeah.
Either it's the Lakers or the Clippers. Everyone knows that that's happening.
Sure.
So who's willing to give up whatever value the Spurs are going to take for effectively a 1-year rental of Kawhi Leonard? And Masai, it's one of the coolest things that general managers ever done is just have the balls to do it, win the title, and then he left anyway. Like it is so.
I just
respect it so much.
I talked about this earlier with Cash from formerly of Pound the Rock on The Score, and he was basically talking about, because I don't know if you guys saw the quote from DeMar DeRozan recently about how he would have won a title if the Kawhi trade never happened with the Raptors.
Yeah,
and I've just obviously a tough look because people really, like, I'm sure most people remember, but DeMar does not, how insane Kawhi was, specifically during the Sixers and the Bucks series in that run. I mean, he averaged 30 a game in the playoffs and like very good efficiency, locked up Giannis at one point, hit the game-winning shot in Game 7, carried the Raptors at the end of Game 7. And I still think there is an argument that it actually wasn't that big of a risk because, like, where were you ever going with DeMar DeRozan? Like,
because
you reached your ceiling. Like, it happened to be those two teams were the only teams that could have made that trade and had it made sense, even if they didn't win the title. Because I think the fact that you have DeMar and they made it to multiple they made it to an Eastern Conference Finals. They lost in the second round. Like, they were never going to win a title with that version of the team. So trading DeMar for Kawhi, even if it was inherently a risk, I actually don't think that the downside of it was really kind of what it, like, people talk about, because I just don't think they were ever gonna win a title with DeMar DeRozan anyway.
I just pulled the stats on the last series he played with the Cavs series. DeMar had a 47 true shooting in the playoffs.
Yeah, he was horrible in the playoffs. I mean, that was all the teams they just mentioned, the Knicks, Magic, Kings, like all those teams were terrible at that time. I'm trying, like, the Raptors they needed a solidified superstar. Like, that was their missing thing to get over the hump against those Cavs teams. And I mean, Kawhi, that was probably the best Kawhi Leonard ever played in his career, which is saying quite a bit. So, I mean, did he finish second or third in MVP voting that year? I mean, he was up there.
Well, remember, they were like really cautious with his knee that year, so he actually missed 20 games. But the year before he was injured, his last full year in San Antonio, he was top 3 in MVP. Yeah, okay, it was him, Russ, and Harden. But keep in mind that is, if he plays the full season, he goes on to win Finals MVP. And has this incredible season with that absolutely stacked Raptors team. But it is funny just to hear, like, everyone talk about it. But Sam is right. Like, everyone knew it was a risk because LA is on the other side. He was always going to end up there in some capacity. So.
And what was the trade? I mean, the trade was nothing. I mean, it was DeMar who, you do that 10 times out of 10 because, like you said earlier, you reached the endpoint with DeMar. Pirtle, who, I mean, they got Gasol, I think, later in the season.
Yep.
So that they replaced that pretty much. And then 2019 first round pick, which ended up being Keldon Johnson.
Yeah. They actually made good use of it, but
but that was a 30th overall pick. So, I mean, you do that 10 times out of 10.
Yep, exactly. So, huge W, obviously, for the Raptors.
Yeah.
Get back
I'm
into
bullish
it.
on that.
Memphis has got to be up there. They're
I'm
trying to
bullish
get rid of
on-
that Parsons contract.
Isn't Cleveland probably the most dumb and desperate right now?
Maybe.
Depends. They have to salvage LeBron somehow.
10 years? I think they are.
Riley
So this-
can hear you.
This is before LeBron. This is a week before LeBron signs with the Lakers.
They're desperate. They're just stupid.
That's the one thing about some of these top few teams is they don't actually I don't get the sense of desperation, and it's partially that's the issue with this draft is like whoever they get, and even these top 6 guys, like I don't think it makes a difference for Orlando. I think Orlando has the worst roster in the NBA, no matter who they get today, whether it's Trae
You put
Young.
Orlando over Brooklyn?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Who do you like on Brooklyn?
The great Jared Allen.
Karis LeVert.
Actually, the Nets had a better record the next year than the Magic did.
At least we don't know who some of these Brooklyn guys can be. The Orlando guys are all
more than any
fixed.
Brooklyn Nets.
I'm surprised you don't prefer Orlando because you loved Isaac last year.
I guess I like Orlando, but they got talent. I'm not too.
Guys, the Hawks had 3 D2 players on their roster last year. I watched plenty of Hawks games. They were bad.
And a Patriot leaguer. Yeah.
What else are we talking about right now? We've got, so we've had Porter dropping. We've got this possible Memphis deal with Parsons to trade out of 4, which basically is them saying, I will give up this pick. Just take Parsons off our hands.
I love this list.
Can I see a show of hands right
Good
now?
thing that
These
didn't
guys have
happen.
To make their entrances to the Barclays Center. Can I see a show of hands? Is the Parsons contract the worst contract of the decade?
The decade.
Evan
No,
Turner's
that
up
can't
there,
be true.
too.
Oh my God, him saying this a year before the Tobias Harris contract is
At
signed.
least Evan can get out on the
The
floor.
Parsons one was way worse than Tobias.
Okay, look. When you consider the fact that Parsons barely ever played on the contract, I think he made $17 million, but at the time that was a large chunk of the cap. Absolutely, I agree. I think he made 17 to 20 million that year. From a team, I think Tobias making 36 million. I mean, certainly the worst max contract of the decade at a minimum. It's either him or Beal.
Josh Smith.
Ooh, John Wall was pretty bad too.
Yeah. Because John Walls was a super max at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Darren Williams also up there.
At least with those guys, though, those guys were solidified all-star level players at times throughout their career. Yep. And Tobias Harris, if anybody in here is like in the chat watches me at all knows that I am a Tobias Harris defender. Actually, I do think that he is better than Sixers fans give him credit for. Although the contract is disgusting, but Chandler Parsons was coming off of like never playing for the Mavericks. I mean, I don't know, that contract at the time was just shocking.
So it's really funny you say that about because I remember seeing a tweet of yours where you said that about Tobias, and I was like, oh, just wait, because he was really terrible for the Sixers this year. And then we played the Mavericks, and he had a really good game. And I was like, oh, well, Slightly's still going to think that Tobias is that guy.
Yeah. I always just see what it is I've always thought of him like, man, if he was like the 4 next to Luka or something, that would look really nice. But yeah, paying him like $40 million is not something that I would have been very excited about.
And once again, this was by far the worst Tobias year this past year. The other years, it was still like you're paying $16 million more than you should for a guy. But, he's probably more like a $20 million a year player, and you can usually survive those kind of things. But this past year was just the worst of it. And I'm glad it's over. Anyway, Paul George, please don't be Tobias Harris 2.0. Let's continue.
No,
they're still paying
Parsons is
Josh
23 a year, though, right?
Is Hassan Whiteside worse than Chandler Parsons?
No. Yeah. Mozgov as well. Another bad
one. Oh, that's a good call.
Mozgov deal is bad.
We got some doozies in there for sure.
Blake Griffin.
Parsons makes it.
That's good call.
Actually, isn't Conley due for like 30 this year? Do we know if he can stay in the court?
My goat washed.
Like 42 or something.
Conley's
man
if he can't stay in the court.
42?
In the final year of his deal.
Conley did have a bunch of injuries, I think, at this time of his
The
career.
John Wall one scares me because he did not look
There we go. He's
in
back.
shape for most of last year.
Do you guys know how much Melo was
holiday
getting
rush,
paid
that's
last year?
cute.
Oh,
How
no,
much
what,
who was paid
28?
answer?
28.
28, but he has to opt in.
Opt in, baby.
Yeah.
Opt in, baby.
Bill.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about Boston because I think
We're not
that
even in the draft. I didn't even wear Celtic stuff.
you want to wait. You want to save the
loser.
Boston takes for the
I
actual
could
draft.
We're about to have
I
one
was
of the most
hoping they would
important
trade in the
picks in the
top five.
franchise
That's what I was
history.
gonna ask you. It's just like
They have the contracts. The problem is they have all these huge contracts.
Robert Williams?
Yes.
And none of the in-between contracts. Whereas a team like the Knicks
So
have
awful.
all of the contracts. They have every contract.
Terrible.
It was a real misfire by Ainge. He just should have constructed the roster.
Yeah,
differently.
I'd fire him
so
today.
well built. It's tough sometimes.
No idea what he's doing.
They didn't want him working.
Well, this
If you guys have
Can we
questions
pause
or
this real
comments
quick?
for us, hit us up at hashtag ringer.
because this is coming off the they're about to lose everyone, or is it right? Like this is the off season with KD and Kyrie, right? Or was it?
This is the year before that. This is the LeBron goes to the Lakers offseason.
No, so this was the hospital Celtics year. The Celtics just lost in the conference finals to the
Terry
the
Rozier.
Cavs in 7. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the high point where that's why everyone's sucking off Danny Ainge right now in this thing because they were like, oh man, they didn't even have Kyrie or Gordon Hayward. They're going to come back and they're going to destroy the world. So that's the context everyone needs to remember is everyone thought like the league was over. And this time next year, the Celtics are effectively like left for dead because Kyrie leaves. Horford goes to the Sixers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're stuck with like Enos Cantor.
Then it's
and,
happily
like,
ever after for the
Williams.
Sixers. Exactly. Thank you for everything works out for the Sixers and nothing works out for the Celtics, just like all of NBA history.
It's funny hearing them talk about these trash front offices because I've been thinking this whole time, like, man, they don't have the front offices aren't bad like they used to be. There used to just be some horrible front offices out there.
Well, we've talked about this on the podcast before, and there are still bad front offices. They're different in the way that they're bad. Like, for example, the Bulls and the Pistons were bad. These specific iterations with Karnišovas and Troy Weaver, who just got fired. They're just not like Vlade Divac's, let's push in all the chips, trade picks and swaps so that we can sign Wash, Rajon Rondo bad. Like they're conservatively bad, where like it's kind of boring how bad they are. Like you wish that you had more like, let's do a Billy King style, Bobby Marks style, give up all of our draft picks for the 38-year-old Kevin Garnett. Like they're just not aggressively bad anymore. They're just kind of conservatively bad. And that's more just because they're worried about keeping their jobs. And they usually get like people forget this. Troy Weaver got a second contract. Like he got an extension and was fired a year later, like, which is incredibly rare that ever happens. But like you said, like back then they were so like, it was so obvious which front offices were bad and they were just like loudly stupid about it.
Yeah. Even like what people would consider bad front officing now, like the Pistons. I mean, they have built a pretty decent young core. Like that is a real thing that's happened. So
I always come out of their draft being like, I like their draft, and then they're still bad. So
they just don't have any, and they just don't fit together. They still like do not have shooting. Like that's the problem. Like we liked why am I blanking on his name? Athletic guy,
Ron Holland.
Ron Holland. We like Ron Holland. That's like the absolute worst team Ron Holland could have gone to. Like as a guy who like can't shoot is like the Pistons, and I'm really concerned for him. And I'm a huge Asar Thompson guy. I don't think it's going to happen for Asar Thompson in Detroit. He just can't be there. Like, they
have Tim Hardaway now.
Tim Hardaway and Malik Beasley and Tobias
Harris. They're going to be spaced on the floor like crazy for Cade.
They're going to suck, dude. They're going to be so unwatchable. God damn it.
It's so funny because Tim Hardaway is literally just your Tobias.
Yes, that is exactly it. That's a one-on-one comparison. But no, it's funny because like when you pick that high in the draft, you really should never pick based off fit ever. But then like the Pistons have reached this point where it's like, man, another athletic guy who can't shoot.
Yeah,
like,
at a certain point, you do have to build an NBA team.
Yes.
I think that's where when you're in year 5 of drafting the toolsy athletic guy, I think I think it is time to start maybe starting to build out the roster that actually makes sense. So
I have some Pistons stock this year.
Oof. Sell.
I'm a big Cade guy.
Up until
don't tell the comments.
Round, Sharks is going to hang around until the draft starts. Then he's going to start writing live grades on the site, so you can read what Sharks thinks of these grades as the draft goes on. Kev's going to be giving grades from the couch here. Got the whole crew here. Will be with you for the first round.
Kev giving grades from the backward casting couch.
I don't like the way he's going down the steps.
They're talking about his back. Yeah. MPJ.
That was just very like first day after waking up out of a coma.
That's it.
It was like Robert Parrish at the end of his career. That was awful.
It's not good, guys.
That's why he's going to 12.
Oh, yes. Did I say that I wanted the Knicks to take him at 9? Let's forget that.
So you're out now. You're already out.
I just don't like that. I don't like that walk.
Bill, with Greg Oden, you saw him walk, and you were like, "This is not going to go well."
Yeah, but his legs weren't the same size. Like it really. That just looked like somebody who had a bad back.
Yeah, which he does.
I have a bad back. I recognize.
Lonnie going double-breasted tonight.
I love it.
What's the most fun?
I love Lonnie Walker in this draft.
From a social media, NBA, Twitter.
We did
Reddit.
the mock yesterday, and the mock Atlanta team that we had out of our mock draft was awesome. It was Luka, Lonnie, and Kyrie Thomas.
Oh my God!
It was like
Kyrie Thomas.
I
remember loving Kyrie Thomas.
A lot of fans on the internet.
I honestly don't even know who that is. I'm blanking on that guy.
Syracuse?
No, Creighton. I want to say
Creighton. Okay.
Yeah.
They would have a lot.
But are there fans on social media, or is it just like tweeting into the
20 fans?
boys? They have 20 fans.
30? Jamie Gertz.
I think they promote the hell out
The
of
lady from Spanx.
So the Lost Boys fans are all
Spanx
the
lady.
Hawks.
Spanx Lady would just really wanted Wes Matthews.
Yeah, it was
We're
great.
a couple of minutes away.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, you asked this the other day on Slack.
Yeah.
What's up with are we sure Ayton's the real #1 pick? Now you were saying more.
Let's
why
go.
are we so sure Phoenix is
This
taking
is-
him?
Yeah.
It's heating
I
up.
If you're going to take the guy #1, why not just say you're taking him #1? Now it seems like they're going to take him. But I thought it was weird that they weren't upfront about it sooner.
Do you
Unless
think that they
thought
were
were getting
waiting
bowled
to see
over.
if
What's the
anybody
point
could-
of that, KOC?
Yeah.
I think it's always about leverage. I mean, like, you never know what opportunity might pop up. You're not going to commit to a guy and tell the player that you're going to come here and tell the agent he's going to come here when there could always be something that would potentially pop up.
Yeah.
I don't know. You think he's got a chip on his shoulder? Is he
Yeah,
lazy
so
like
your
his
guy
Pumas?
until 12 hours for the draft?
Were you guys want to talk a little bit about Puma?
Yes.
Puma signing this entire draft class?
They're going hard.
Oh yeah,
When's the
I
last
forgot
time
about
a
that.
big guy moved sneakers, so.
That's a great question.
Rookies
Moses?
generally don't either.
Yeah.
They really don't. Like,
Is
you have to
anyone
wait
still
until
on
you're a
Puma?
superstar and then people start
LaMelo.
wearing your sneakers, but it's
LaMelo,
very rare
Kuzma, I think, was a
for
Puma
rookies
guy.
to do it.
Yeah, it's about getting in early. Like, if one of these guys blossoms into a
Yeah, yeah.
superstar, then suddenly Puma's on the map.
Elon
Which of
brain.
Which of those, the new Puma guys, is the guy who will have the signature sneaker that people would
It's
want?
going to be Bagley. Bagley was the first one.
Oh,
Bagley ones.
The
Yeah,
bag
Bagley's
ones.
gonna
Dude, this guy loves Bagley.
What do you mean?
They're like funding his.
was that Tate Frazier again?
Well,
Yeah.
College athletics.
Now he's trying a lot of
Snitching out an entire.
I'm trying to think of a polite way to say this. Tate looks like a guy who loves college
I think
basketball.
everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break
I'm
before
with
the.
Tate, by the way, on that.
You're with Tate on the
Because I
Bagley
think
being the
Bags is
icon.
putting up points next year. He's putting
Oh.
up like 25 a game.
Bill,
And they're going to lose 60 games.
And he was their first guy, so they signed him first.
He,
And they were
that
like,
dude's getting shots next year.
He feels like an athletic Al
He's taking
Jefferson
20
to me.
shots a game next year.
Wow. Just like empty 2010.
I mean, we have skinny Zach Randolph on the draft guide.
We're going to take a quick break before the draft actually starts. We'll be right back with the whole crew to watch the first round. We'll be right back, guys.
Skinny Zach Randolph.
Skinny Zach Randolph was the draft guide comp. He said that he said he's like Al Jefferson, which probably is closer to what pre-draft to what if you really liked Bagley.
That was a Bagley comp?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because as he said, yeah, that's a great comp for him. Because as Will says in the comments, that's a bad player. And
I was about to say. I was about
He
to say
said-
too. That's like taking away what made Zach Randolph so good, pretty much.
that's a
With his
bad player.
brute force.
It's a great scouting report on Marvin Bagley. It's a bad player. You shouldn't take him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Skinny Zach Randolph.
Like, I know we're being funny.
Literally out of the league within 5 years, if you told me that.
Parsons has a bad contract. But this is a pretty cool moment for
It's
everybody.
described to me today as Woodstock crossed with Fashion Week.
That's interesting. How is it like with
Neither of those things.
I don't know. The Phoenix
Sounds pretty great.
Poor
having done it
Kevin.
Twice,
I still had
how many
empathy
people
for
show
Kevin
up
at this
to just
point.
watch it,
Yeah.
and how bored they are by like pick 20.
Yeah.
And they start doing chants and trying to get the studio people to turn around.
I know.
It's not that fun to go. I don't understand why
doesn't
people would
seem
go to
fun.
this.
What do you remember as like the biggest surprise whenever
Anthony Bennett.
it was Bennett?
That was shocking.
Well,
We were just talking to people who were saying he was going to fall out of the top 10. So we thought Oladipo was going to go there,
Man.
and maybe Nerlens.
Yeah.
You don't get
And they
drafts
said
like that
Bennett.
anymore.
It was like,
Yep.
the most stunning thing I'd ever seen in my life.
And Bill was in his
Kind of
bag
like
now.
a franchise-defining thing. I mean, they wound up winning a title, but you wonder what would have happened, just like in general.
It was the perfect storm. It was like the wrong year. Like 3 years later, no 6'7" tweener guy ever goes first.
right.
And then like a screwed up team. They didn't really have the GM yet, I don't think. Or did they? They have Chris Grant at that
They're
point?
literally saying this right before Marvin Bagley's about to get. I know he's
Yeah.
9, but like right before he's about to go second.
Because it was higher or lower?
A lot of people expected him to go in the 20 to 35 range, and then boom.
Oh, that's
bucked the
right.
10,
I forgot
just
about
swung for
that.
the fences and took time.
He
I
still
remember
had
Hero.
Boogie at this
So
point.
one of the drafts I did, the Raptors took Bruno.
That's right.
Who wasn't on any of our lists, and we were all just kind of looking at each other, and the guy was like, "Throw it to Fran."
Bruno Caboclo, 2 years away from being 2 years
That's
away.
when he said 2 years
Still-
away from being 2 years away.
Just agonizing over that because me and Rafe back at Grantland, we knew about him.
You knew about Bruno.
We knew about Bruno. We had watched 2 videos of him, vertical film, just like 5
Yeah.
seconds of him dunking.
Yep.
And we were just
Filmed
like,
on a
I
Game
don't
Boy
think we
Advance
could go
SP,
off
as
this
I said.
tip
Bruno's
that
on
he
the
was gonna
Kings
get
now, right?
Yeah.
How many years
He was
away
not
is
on
he
my
now?
list.
This is the year.
This is his now?
This is 2 from 2.
Giannis was. I remember when Giannis got taken, we all liked it. We thought it was like a little bit early.
Yeah.
And now that's probably, for the value, I would say the best pick of this whole century,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They took him 15th.
Yeah.
Get a
Well,
super duper
Jokic
center
hadn't
at
arrived yet.
15.
I mean, you could make the
Yeah.
argument that Draymond, for the contracts that he was on, was probably more important so far. But Giannis will probably wind up being that.
Maybe Shabazz Napier at 20.
So
So we got the Suns on the board, and we know that they're going to take Ayton, and we'll get to that, like the sort of details about Ayton's game in a few minutes. But I'm curious about whether or not, Kevin, you think that Ayton and Booker are the core now, or are they still another great player away from being at all competitive?
I mean, they already have one star, Devin Booker. I mean, he's 21 years old, and he averaged like 25 points per game last year. Efficient pick and roll scorer. I think with Booker, you already have one of the guys. Now you hope Ayton turns into probably the guy, because I'm not quite sure that Booker's your number one, but maybe your number two.
what about
DeAndre
Josh is in there too,
Yeah,
though, right?
and he's definitely in there. We can't give up on
Josh
him.
Jackson.
Talking about Josh Jackson.
Josh
yeah.
Jackson. Oh my God, I was wondering if that's who they're talking
He's
about.
younger than a lot of guys.
To be fair, this is before he was accused of making getting a baby high. So,
Yeah.
you know, we didn't know that information at the time.
Doing a literal Chappelle show skit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a weird. It was kind of a bad draft.
It has like
it
Kwame and
tailed
Curry
off.
vibes,
Yeah.
like to have
Those
those
guys
guys
are-
on the same team like that.
I don't think we can say that draft is good or bad yet, because like a guy like Brandon Ingram's still developing as a player. I mean, we still don't know what exactly level he's going to reach. Ben Simmons is even still improving. And there's still a
Jaylen
lot
Brown?
of guys at
That ended up being a really good draft.
That was a good
actually.
draft. Yeah. It was a fine
Well,
draft.
it's funny because that draft is like the draft that was just, I've talked about this before. It's all just flawed number ones and like really good number twos.
Yeah.
Like Brandon Ingram, Sabonis, flawed number one, Jaylen Brown. Like up until this year, probably people would have even said flawed number two, but very obviously a good number two.
Yeah.
Siakam.
Siakam, number two. Like it's one of those drafts where there isn't an
good number two.
There you go.
For a Sixers team. Yeah.
Yabusele was actually the next year, but
Nope, he was 2016.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we drafted him. We drafted him sixth now. No, because we had 3 picks in that draft.
Gotcha.
We drafted Yabu, Ante Zizic, and Jalen.
There's still time for Ante Zizic, someone said in the Discord. So,
Yes.
he's just got to get more minutes, like you said.
Real quick, I just want to go back to. I will give Kevin his flowers on this. He was on Devin Booker is good for a while.
Yeah,
Like,
he was.
Everyone kind of thought Devin Booker was like an empty stats bad team guy.
Yeah.
And I think that might have even still been going on at this point. So
yeah, I mean, this was
one of KOC's bigger W's.
I was gonna say this
believing
was
in Devin
just
Booker.
before he made the All-Star leap. So like
Yeah.
the real arrival of Devin Booker was during the bubble, like
Yeah.
in 2020. But people were still skeptical because this was coming off his 3rd year in the NBA, I believe. And the first 2 years, especially, he was like pretty inefficient. Everyone kind of just called him like an empty stats guy. And he was definitely very early on like knowing that Devin Booker had the juice.
Is Devin Booker sort of like the last? I mean, you still hear people call people empty stats guy, but that used to be a real go-to, like, oh, Devin Booker just empty stats, not like a real stat getter. Like, I feel like that's not an argument you see too often anymore.
I think he's the last one that became a legit star.
Yeah,
because I think,
but he was like the face of that for a long time, for like the first 3 or 4 years of his career.
Losing player, yeah, that was like the thing. Is like he can't be a winning player.
It's usually shooting guards. Like it's Zach LaVine, it's DeMar DeRozan, it's
Jalen Green.
Yeah, exactly. It's all those guys, and that is kind of the quiet part. Is like you have to be an insanely good shooting guard to be like a real impact guy. Like you think about the good shooting guards. It's like James Harden. You got to have a guy like that. And James Harden's honestly probably just a huge point guard.
I was about to say you pretty much have to be like a quasi point guard.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I actually think other than Harden, Booker is really the one guy that has just become like an exceptional passer. Like I think that his passing this past season, I mean, early in the year, he was averaging like close to 10 assists a game. And
Booker's closer to a point guard.
Yeah, I was going to say he's now become kind of more of a combo-ish guard where he can be the point or the shooting guard. But in general, like even the guys you said, like I think Zach LaVine is another guy that just, took forever to develop. And even when he was at making all-star teams, people were still a little bit looking at him side-eyed, like, does he really impact winning? But yeah, it is definitely something that you don't see quite as much. And I think that's probably due to the fact that, like, there's so much talent around the league. And if you have the ball in your hands, that people really aren't going to accuse you of that, because the fact that there are just like, try to rank the top 30 players in the NBA. It's like a fucking you get to like 30 and you're like, holy shit, this guy's not even top 30 in the league. Like,
it's insane how stacked the league is.
So stacked right now. It's nuts. Yeah.
That bothers me with the Suns. I know I've talked about this before because the same thing happened with Cleveland, where these teams are just completely incompetent and then stumble into more blue chip talent, right?
Yeah.
Phoenix had
the draft, man.
Pretty nice foundation, and then decided to do the 3-point guard disaster, and then that led to them trading Isaiah Thomas, which was even dumber, and all these stupid moves they made, and then all of a sudden that leads to Josh Jackson at 4, and it leads to Ayton at 1, and they got the Booker pick because OKC passed on. Did OKC take Booker? Or Payne, was that after Booker or
Payne
before?
was after.
Yeah, it was just after.
Who
Booker was 13, Payne was 14.
Who was
passed
12?
on Booker?
Then it was Turner and Lyles. Lyles Turner.
Yeah, Lyles was 12.
No, those are all good picks.
That was a good.
Yeah,
That
would
was
you
a
rather
good
have
draft.
Devin Booker than
Trey Lyles?
Yeah, I'd rather have Trey Lyles than Devin Booker, for sure.
All right, here comes Adam Silver.
Still a question in 2018, apparently.
2018.
I don't know about the tie.
Sam, in a few years, that might be us revisiting our stream from a week ago when you were like, would you rather have Walker Kessler or Jalen Green? And I was like, I'll take Jalen Green.
Yeah.
Even if he stinks, I'll take the risk.
So that's DeAndre Ayton from Arizona, staying home, going to the Phoenix
There we
Suns.
go.
Ayton is a 7-footer, 240, mean offensive player. Just has like a lot of really scary tools already.
Low block
He's
and
been locked
steal
in at this
rates,
spot for a long
intensity
time.
wanes. Just what you want to
One
see in
thing
your
that we're really
number
concerned
one
about,
overall
I guess,
pick.
is the defense. And frankly, like if you have him out there,
Oh,
you're talking about it maybe being 3
okay.
on
So
5.
for anyone who's listening, the shades of are DeMarcus Cousins, Karl Anthony Towns, and Patrick Ewing. So obviously, people thought that he was going to shoot because Cousins and Cat being the comps in there, they very obviously thought he was going to extend his range to 3 because he took a lot of mid-range shots in college. And the idea was essentially you have a 3-level scorer who, has the tools to be a really good two-way big on the other end. And famously, this inspired Joel Embiid's draft night tweet, "Don't compare me to Ayton. I play defense." So
Called it. By the way, Ayton was a 1-level scorer. The 1 level being 16 to 19 feet. That was the only fucking place. The only time he ever had a good season was when Chris Paul bullied him into it and made him the Chris Paul broke his PlayStation, like those boomer videos of like them destroying the child's PlayStation 5 and they're crying. That's what Chris Paul did to like make Ayton good for 2 years.
It's funny to see the shades of, because like obviously this pick is just a disaster in retrospect because of Luka, but Ayton was really a super high level prospect. Like people were really in on him being this next great big in the NBA.
Yep. And keep in mind, like, he was a hyped up high school prospect. And the question was it's very funny looking back at both Ben Simmons and DeAndre Ayton, because all the talent was there. They showed it early in their careers. And obviously Simmons was better than Ayton, but like all of the question marks that we usually just brush off as boomer bullshit when we're like, the motor, who cares? Like, who cares about a guy's motor if he's this talented and big? And who cares if he really likes basketball? And both of those things proved out to actually be issues for these guys by the time they get their second contract. And then they just kind of are like, yeah, I'm just chilling now. I like playing Fortnite more than I like basketball.
I was wondering when I was thinking, like earlier today, when I was thinking about coming on here, I was like, the Ayton motor thing, that was the big thing at the time, was his motor was a problem. And I was thinking, how often does that pan out where a guy's motor is a problem? And then it turns out 5-6 years later, we're like, oh no, he's actually good. Like Anthony Edwards, I remember that was a thing, but I think that was more so, hey, Anthony Edwards likes to rap and play football. And so people are like, so he must hate basketball.
And he fucked with people during that process too. And he's like, yeah, I would rather play football. And like, he was just, and now we know Ant's personality.
Yeah.
And we would go, oh, okay, well, he was obviously just like fucking around.
Yeah.
But at the time, we had no idea. We're like, wait, this 18-year-old, 19-year-old is going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. And yes, he has all the tools to succeed, but there was that question mark for sure about him. And I think you're right in that it does feel as though, especially with these huge prospects, if you have question marks about them, it might actually be more concerning than we think that it possibly could be. But
that was a Wiseman thing too.
Yep.
That was a big Wiseman thing.
Yeah. And I do just want to say the guy that was in this draft that people were worried about that with, Khalil Ware, who I was very high on and actually absolutely dominated at Summer League.
Yeah,
so
he looked really good.
But he went to Miami, so that's going to fucking work.
Yeah, true. That cancels it all out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the HGH will balance that out. Don't worry about it.
Good news. I found my old big board.
Let's go.
I'll put it in the chat for everyone to make fun of me. Luka 1, Jaren Jackson Jr. 2, and
that's not bad.
It fell apart after that. We had
Trae Young 17.
Yeah.
Oh, I called it exactly.
Let's go. I swear to God, I didn't tell Trill. I swear to God, I didn't tell Trill.
Incredible. Wow, we are so in tune right now. That's amazing.
The aforementioned Kyrie Thomas, I had him 14, 1 spot ahead of Colin Sexton at 15. So
Kyrie Thomas, did this guy get NBA minutes?
No, he was like a two-way guy mostly.
He got drafted by Detroit, if I remember correctly, which was part of that problem. Because they were like, this was like right in the Van Gundy year. Like, I don't think he like ever got a chance to play. I think he and Bruce Brown both got drafted.
Yep.
To Detroit in this draft, and neither of them like ever played for them. Like, he's one of these guys that I kind of thought Daryl Morey would pick up, kind of like he did with Melton. Like later on, but it never really happened.
I think we did at one point have Kyrie Thomas on a two-way or like an Exhibit 10.
What was the draft profile? I mean, I don't. This guy does not even cross my brain for some reason.
I knew a lot of people liked him, and you're not alone. Mike Levin from Rights to Ricky Sanchez wanted the Sixers to take him in the second round.
He was a Melton style prospect, where he was like had big wingspan, guard, defense first. I liked him a lot because he was like possible for the Celtics to get at 29. Like that was the Celtics range. So like I obviously was like, maybe we'll get
end
this
of the
guy,
first,
guys.
beginning of the second was his range of
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeez.
With Devin and DeAndre on the floor at the same time. But that being said, Kevin,
Sean Miller,
what do you think?
A minus. In the draft?
A- grade.
A minus.
Why are you giving DeAndre Ayton an A minus?
Well, the Suns get an A minus because Luka Doncic was on the board and he was number 1, so it's
That's
not an
the
A plus.
minus.
However, DeAndre Ayton is a perfect fit next to Devin Booker. I think they need a big man alongside their ball handlers, Booker, Josh Jackson. Really, with him, the question is, what level does he reach offensively? There's a lot of talent there, of course, for him to be great. And defensively, he needs to consistently lock in and be engaged on that end of the floor to lock down their defense. So it's not 3 and 5, like you said, Chris.
Okay.
What grade would you have given Doncic in the 1 spot?
A plus. A plus.
Do you two both think Doncic is the best player?
Here it is. This is the moment.
Hands down.
Wow. Okay.
All right. I don't understand. We all watch basketball every May and June, and the best teams always have these dudes who can create shots for themselves and other people, who are perimeter guys, year after year. That's who wins the title. And then somebody takes a center first. I don't understand it.
Right.
And you should be falling all over yourself to get Doncic.
We were talking about this, about how this would have been like, you put Doncic and Booker together, you have playmakers all over the court now.
Yeah, you have playmakers at maybe 3 or 4 different positions. Like Josh Jackson is a great, open court threat. He can make the pass. He can do that, and the chemistry that he already had with Igor Kokoshkov, like you go with this.
That was impressive that he said the name correctly.
The Igor stuff was crazy that they didn't draft Luka, all things considered.
That's what I remember about that draft was I was like, so they're definitely just taking Luka if they're hiring his coach for whatever reason.
Yeah. So he was the Slovenian national coach, right?
Yep. I mean, that was like the end of it for Mavs fans who wanted Luka. It was like, he's going to the Suns. Like, there's no way. And then you had the Divac thing with the Kings. It was like, there's no way this guy.
Right. He knew his dad.
Like, yes.
He
that ended up being a reason he didn't want him, though.
Yeah. Which is fun. Yeah. Always great to take your personal relationships into consideration when taking the second pick in the draft. But yeah, no, I mean, it is funny with Bill saying that now. When I remember posting this clip like 2 years ago, obviously Jokic kind of broke the grain here of being the, best player on a championship team as a big, but he's totally right about, drafting the best perimeter player, the prospect who could possibly translate instantly. And just think about like what we know now about the Mavericks and the Suns, not just like the Mavericks destroying them in the playoffs in that game 7 and the rivalry that started, but like, what is Devin Booker if not a better version of Kyrie Irving, who just got to the finals as the number 2 option to Luka Doncic?
No, I mean, there was coping from Suns fans even as recently as like a few years ago, where it was like, yeah, but the Ayton pick, like Booker wouldn't have done this, and Luka would have stepped. It's like, dude, you're out of your mind if you don't think those two would have not had some historic run as one of the best backcourt duos the league's ever seen. Just talent-wise. Yeah, like it's insane.
And one of the things that's kind of grown in Book's game is like he's one of the 3 best off-ball guards in the NBA.
Oh yeah.
So it's like knowing what you know now, and also an improved defender. Early in his career, the people kind of trashed him a lot for his defense, but like his defense, especially in the playoffs, has been pretty good. So it is funny just to see what we know now. And I that's why I'm always, even if we just had our conversation about the Pistons and how at a certain point you should probably just stop drafting best player available, that will still always be my thought when it comes to especially bad teams like the Phoenix Suns, who are coming off drafting Dragan Bender, Josh Jackson, all these guys in a row, Marquise Chris. Like at this point, just take the fucking best player on the board. Do not care about fit.
That is what's funny about Josh Jackson. I read some ESPN GM poll recently where it did best player in 5 years, and somebody sent me the one from 2017 or something, and Josh Jackson I think was the
top 5.
I think he was number 1.
Oh my god!
Best player in 5 years in that poll was Josh Jackson after his rookie year, or maybe it was before his rookie year. I can't remember.
It was around. I think it might have been post summer league, is my guess.
Yes. Okay. It was because it was the one I was looking at was Luka's rookie year because I wanted to see what they all thought about Luka, and he was Josh Jackson. So I guess that was before his rookie season started. That they thought he was going to be the best player from that draft.
Incredible.
Like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. We'll see which one this is. I'm not sure.
I mean, the thing with Ayton, he's not going to be a bust.
Right.
Yeah, he did produce in college. Tate, you liked him.
Of course. Nassau Bahama kid. He lost all games at home when he went home to play in Nassau, so that's always a good sign.
He lost to Buddy Hield.
Yeah, lost a lot of people this year. I think the biggest knock on him is that it's about motor, how much he wants it. He said he wanted a second contract, so at least the rookie deal would be good for you.
Literally called it.
Isn't that the recurring?
Like literally, if someone is already talking about their second contract, to know how DeAndre Ayton's career has played out, contributed to the team, made the NBA Finals as the 3rd or 4th best player on his rookie contract, and they got the max and said, "I'm good, peace out, y'all."
I mean that raises an interesting question. Is Ayton a bust?
He's a low-end number 1 pick,
In the context of this draft, absolutely a bust, I would say.
Yeah.
I think he's a bust, yeah.
I mean, I don't know about, but like...
He's a bust.
For this, like, it's made worse by the fact that, like, Luka Doncic was in this draft.
And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who, to be fair, would have never went with the first pick. Like, I want to get that clear. Like, it's not like... there were always signs Shai had some star upside, but they were never like he's going to be an MVP candidate. That's... It
was Ayton or Luka were, like, the only guys talked about as, like, number 1 draft pick worthy guys.
And the nerds really like Jaren Jackson Jr. I remember that was like a big thing about the nerds loving Jaren Jackson Jr. because of his tools and his analytics in college. And
he could shoot, and he could shoot, which was like a huge for a big guy with like his block rate and stuff like that. Yeah. There was a ton of like indicators there for that. But like I guess that's the thing is there were so many good like players in this draft. Like like everyone was pretty skeptical of Trae Young. But like he had some fans though. Mm-hmm. Like you know what I'm saying? Like. People, I thought I hated that trade for Atlanta.
Yeah.
They nailed like this is kind of the best case scenario for Trae Young, in my opinion. What we've gotten out of him, and they still lost that trade so fucking badly. Like, it's tough.
I mean, look, I said I even think Wiggins is a bust, and like it's not to say Wiggins did not have a good career, but if you're going to stack it up against number 1 overall picks, the majority of number 1 overall picks make like we always talk about like the median outcome guys like John Wall and Karl Anthony Towns and these guys that make like a minimum of 3 to 5 All-Star games are very clearly at some point in their career top 25, top 30 players of the NBA. If you don't reach that as a number 1 pick and then 2 picks later, one of the greatest players of all time is selected in Luka Doncic in this draft and then 2014 Joel Embiid, like, yeah, you're a bust. Like, it's not to say that you had an objectively bad career. It's to say for the number 1 overall pick, I would consider it a bust. Now, it's not a historical bust like Michael McCandy, but it is, it's in the, I would consider if you have the first pick, it's really hard to recover from missing on the first pick. And the Sixers basically did it twice. I know from personal experience. So
yeah, that's totally fair. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Number 1 overall pick has to be a franchise changing player or else you failed.
Exactly.
Theme for when these guys don't totally make it, it's like they weren't these guys that were in the gym at 1 a.m, like working on their game. The motor thing is like the number 1 red flag, as Jason has found out on the Knicks over and over again.
There's also like a conversation. Russillo and Jay Billis were talking about this yesterday on Russillo's podcast, which was like that's an issue that comes up a lot with big men because they're basically.
Now, was Russillo just like too cool for this?
No, before he was at ESPN still.
Okay.
Oh, are they plugging him because they know he's coming? Is that what's going on here? Like
Tesla, he only has like 220 miles
tampering
before you have to plug him back in.
Ooh, KOC hated that.
Well, he can play
Bill making fun of Tesla. Yeah.
He's like, it's actually a very innovative company, Bill.
Yeah. Actually, it's the future, Bill. That was when Kevin decided he was going to Yahoo. Circle this contract right then.
Right before they
I do 6 more years and I'm out of here.
Now, right? So he really needs to wait on Ayton. But before that, like when they had the two guards, there was like a half a second there where the Suns were fun and interesting and good, and then not at all because it all blew up with Isaiah when they had the 3 guards. And McDonough went from being considered one of the best young general managers in the NBA to being a guy who people go, I don't know.
He was never
Any
considered
issues
that.
with DeAndre Ayton's multiple personalities?
Yeah, so he has a couple alter egos. We'll get to that in a second. Riley, I just want to know.
What?
These are the last,
I don't remember that.
2 minutes.
DeAndre Ayton's schizophrenia?
Yeah, wait, what? Hold on.
Chris Ryan is really twisting the knife here with the Kings
I've
fan.
already written it off. I know we're taking Bagley. I'm moving through the 7 stages. It's fine.
Do we have
poor
the
Riley.
meme we made of Riley with "This is fine" hands was pretty classic today. I was enjoying that.
Wait, guys, alert!
Here we go.
Let's go.
This is when Sharks and
Mark Stein, New York Times Mark Stein, the Mavericks are closing in on a trade for Luka Doncic, according to leaked sources.
Wow.
Jason Gallagher, Jonathan Sharks, David Shoemaker.
Oh, Gallagher's here?
Yep.
Like a Shawshank.
That's my guy.
I'll take a beer.
There he is. Here we go.
they knew.
No, we are.
Oh, we are?
Mark Stein, the Hawks are going to be drafting for Dallas at number 3.
So they're going Bagley here.
Marvin Bagley.
What a moment.
Duke
God, that's
University
poor
goes
Riley,
to
dude.
Sacramento.
That's
Get
fucking
ready for this
brutal
trade in
to
just
have
1
to watch
second.
all that.
Yep.
Riley, you have my condolences.
Oh, for
Let's see what
Bagley.
we got on Marvin Bagley from Duke.
But like, look, I know that you've dealt with a lot of shit being a Mavs fan. Obviously, you have the Steve Nash thing, the Jalen Brunson thing gets brought up ad nauseum, and I'm sure you're sick of it. But it is just kind of fitting that like a franchise that drafted Dirk Nowitzki would then draft Luka Doncic, and the Kings get Marvin Bagley.
Yeah.
And then the Kings, by the way, too, and look, the Kings are competitive, and it's cool to see them back fighting to be in the playoffs and blah blah blah. But to have this happen and then 2 years later draft Halliburton and flip him for Sabonis, it just feels like these things only happen to certain franchises, and then good things only happen to certain franchises as well. But
yeah,
this is just a really sums up both of these franchises.
I always like the Mavs to me remind me so much of like the Packers, where they go from the great player to the great player almost immediately, and they don't win like 10 rings. They don't win. They might win just 1, but they're competitive every year.
Yep.
And it is just like, we don't like in my adult life, my entire life, really, I have never rooted for a basketball team that didn't have a solidified superstar. Like
and that's basically, and even if you want to stretch it further, like in the NBA, that matters even more.
Yeah,
because it's just how much one player can affect. To have a top 5 player for 20, 25 straight years is, the ultimate way to give yourself a shot to win the title. So it is just absolutely brutal. I'm sure no Kings fans will be watching this, so I can say that.
Yeah, this is one that they will avoid like the plague. But I remember this trade happening before the draft. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I remember exactly where I was. I was in the car driving home from the gym, and my phone, I had 3 separate friends start calling me. And I know some shit's going. I know exactly what happened. Like, I know for a fact we just traded for Luka Doncic, and I answer one of them, and we're just going crazy. I mean, that's how badly we wanted Luka. Like, that was what 99% of the fan base wanted. It's rare that you see that in the draft.
I was going to say it is very rare
to get the best player in the draft that everybody knows with the 5th pick. It is like going into the draft
with the 3rd pick.
But I'm saying they went into the draft with the 5th pick.
Sure.
And managed to get Luka Doncic. That is like when a guy is like, because again, I want to like hammer this home because like there's some revisionist history about this. Everyone knew Luka was that guy. Like everyone who was paying attention and knew Luka was that guy. It was maybe a tier below the Anthony Davis thing, but it was on par with Zion. It was on par with all of these other guys that like everybody knew couldn't miss. And seemingly the NBA front offices were the only ones who like didn't understand this. It was crazy. It's one of the all-time like GM swindles, and it totally changed the Mavs franchise. Like,
and also totally changed how we think about international basketball. Like I think that this was the last clinging on to the American, exceptionalism, we will always produce the best players. And the Luka pick just completely flipped that on its head, and now it's completely undeniable.
Question: if there's no Luka, does Scoot go over Wemby last year?
No chance.
No.
I think the better question would be
alien.
Yeah. You'd have to look at. I'm trying to think of some of the international guys who went after in like high in drafts. Immediately I thought about Franz.
But he was also a Turkish league MVP. Like, I mean, like he shouldn't have fell to 17. Like,
yeah.
I mean, look, you can make the argument that, there's flaws in his game similar to a Sabonis type where he'll just never be able to be like the obvious best player on like a legit contender. But to win an MVP at 18 and fall that far, but there was more factors to that one as well, mainly due to the fact that it was the COVID year. So, so that league like lost a bunch of funding and they didn't have enough money to pay some of the players. So there's context to it. But like if you're dominating at 18 in a pro league, now we know that you should at least be going like in the lottery, I think. I'm sorry, you should be going at the top of the draft as opposed to falling even to, like you said, going into the draft with 5, getting him at 3. So
insane.
18 years old, 6'11", 234, 20 and 10 right away. Incredible athlete. Tate's just got tears in his eyes as he sees another great Coach K product make his way to the NBA. Shades of Amari Stoudemire and Zach Randolph, an automatic. And Kevin O'Connor's grade is
C+ because they're passing on the guy Luka Doncic. For Sacramento, they're getting a guy who's an elite rebounder.
And how is it a C+?
I was about to say, I feel like in his heart he wanted an F here.
His defense is really, really weak. In his offense, we'll see how his jumper develops. They should have just taken Luka. I'm sorry, Riley. I warned you, dude. I warned you.
You told me to prepare.
Everyone knew.
Even with preparation, it still stings. It's even worse.
Look at Jason's smoke
right
smile.
right down the line.
See the cigar?
Yes. I don't want to see his face. I don't like seeing him this happy.
Riley's basketball life was just destroyed, and Kevin's like, Riley,
at least you passed. At least it's a passing grade. Wow. Look at that moderate athleticism there on the dunk.
Jason, I don't know if you saw it. It's a relentless rebounder.
Well, relentless. As long as it's relentless.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
It feels like they're hazing KOC to make him hold up letters like this.
Like fantasy guy, right?
Vanna White.
Like 22 and 12.
Let's check out this trade that we have brewing because this is something pretty exciting. The Mavericks are closing in on a trade.
Never doubt Mark Stein when it comes to Maverick sources, right?
No, he is the guy. He got really mad at me once.
Yes,
if you want a quick aside.
Yeah, I do want to hear this.
Yes.
This was years ago. I mean, I probably had 500 followers on Twitter, so I would just fuck around and just like post shit that I would never post now. But it was around the trade deadline. I tweeted something like, "Wow, like Stein had like a small podcast that I knew for a fact he might have been on the radio or something. Like I knew for a fact a lot of people were listening to it, and I tweeted out like, "Wow, Stein just said Dwight Powell is considered untouchable in trade talks for the Mavericks." And this, like, most people knew that I was joking who followed me at the time, but it got outside of my circle a little bit. And one of like the really big Mavs Twitter accounts at the time picked it up and was retweeting. Not only completely stole my tweet, didn't retweet me, but tweeted it as if it was a fresh new report and added Mark Stein, which is something I did not do. They added
aggregating it. Yeah, let's go.
And Stein was like, "Hey, never tweet this again. I never tweeted this." Like, got on his ass, but it was just hilarious.
Incredible. I mean, that's not on you. That's on that account for tweeting.
No, yes, yes. It was a notorious account that is notorious for stealing shit. So it all came back in the end.
That's a really funny. That's like when the artists like create the T-shirt bot killing things that have like a picture of Mickey Mouse and say, "I am legally using this for reasons of monetary gain." Like just a perfect bait for anyone that's like stealing any of these things. Like, yeah,
quite literally parody satire. All right, let's continue here.
What's that, Follow?
Struggling against the chains.
Oh yeah, Stein versus Woj.
And the Hawks are going to draft Trae Young. So the Hawks get Trae Young at 5 then?
The Hawks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we think of this deal?
Stein's revenge.
Yeah.
Would you like this for Dallas?
Slop
Love
off.
this for Dallas.
I would trade everything on my roster and all my picks for Doncic. They have
That's
nothing.
dope.
What do they have?
King.
They have Dennis Smith.
Easily.
Dallas is sending a future first to Atlanta. Yeah. No players exchanged.
Cam Reddish.
We have like so.
This is what
Yep.
happens when you have Jamie Gertz and
What?
Spanks Eris.
This trade.
I just
Got to give Dallas credit for knowing that the 2019 draft kind of sucked a year in advance too. Like, I think they would have made the trade anyway, even if the draft was like a little bit better. But like that draft being like Reddish was who was taken with that pick. But even if you look at who was on the board, the best players were like Cam Johnson, Tyler Hero, PJ Washington. Like there was no one that was going to make that much of a difference if you didn't have one of literally the top 3 picks in that draft, because RJ was seen as he was the number 1 guy in that high school class. So
and that pick was protected too. I don't know if they'll get to it, but they protected it. So I think it was top 5 maybe.
Oh, Schlenk
and it came down to a coin flip. They coin flipped with the Grizzlies, so they could have, if they won that coin flip, they would have had the second overall pick that season.
So who would have had the second overall pick? The Hawks?
The Mavs.
Oh, the Mavs. Gotcha.
Because that was the Morant draft, right?
Yeah, and they coin flipped in the lottery with the Grizzlies.
Oh wow! I see. I didn't even remember that part because and the Grizzlies jumped up, right?
Yeah.
Because
the Celtics had the pick that year. The Grizzlies pick.
Yeah, because
they
the Grizzlies
jumped up.
At the deadline they traded Marc Gasol. They kind of made a punt at the deadline move. I remember when they traded him to the they got Valanciunas, but you know what I mean.
I can't believe that Dallas just did this. This is such a good deal for them.
Yeah. It's a good deal to get Luka.
Get this guy out of here.
It's giving up a future first.
So
it looks like the deal right now is they're going to swap and
swap 3.
Wait, but
Atlanta
but
is gonna
here's
take
the
Trae
thing.
Young, and
Could the Grizzlies have drafted Trae Young at this point?
They
Like,
could
why-
have, but everyone knew that they were in on Jaren Jackson Jr., I'm assuming.
It's a risky thing to just fucking tweet that. Though.
Well,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're a reporter, like, I don't think current Woj would do that.
No, you're right, because I literally think this exact thing happens later with the Kevin Huerter and Dante DiVincenzo picks in this draft, where they tweeted the Bucks wanted DiVincenzo and then the Hawks could have taken him or something. There was something weird that happened. So you're right. Like, this is very rare that this happens. I don't know why they just don't even I think they might even brush over the Jaren Jackson Jr. part, but we'll see.
This feels a little Sixers-ish.
No, it's
We're
definitely
giving up
Boston.
an extra pick.
Yeah,
What's
it's
that?
definitely Boston.
Yeah, we're giving. I just like. Yeah, I like Doncic better. Sure.
Yeah.
But I like picks a lot.
Yeah.
To pick up a future
Over-
for moving 2 spots down to maybe get
Overvaluing
still.
picks right before we do the Bridges for Zaire thing.
Trae Young and not Luka Doncic.
It's crazy how confident they all were. This could have looked so stupid.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, kind of. That's
Like,
part of it.
Trae Young is one of the hit or miss prospects of this draft. He could be unplayable.
I mean,
Well, let's see who they pick.
Woj is on. He just got his lunch.
it's probably going to
meat
be
doing
Trae.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, it will be Trae.
Destroy Mark Stein.
I'm actually getting a tan from his anger, his fury.
When do we find out if PNC
If Trae Young is still there, that's what it's dependent on. What happens if he's not?
That's one.
That's one?
No,
How many
that's
more
the first.
PNC
That's the first reference.
I get
Pants
three
DJ,
more?
right? 3 more. That's
I
it.
get 3 more. I used one of my Prince DJ jokes, Chris.
This seems like very.
Yeah, I think that's on the
feed. Okay, good.
Yeah.
30 and 30.
But now they're going to have 5, 19, 30.
We got a minute
Future
30.
Dallas
Here comes
pick.
Adam Silver with the Hawks pick.
they're
Let's see
gonna
what Adam's
try
got to
to
say.
consolidate some of those picks to move up.
Hey.
Okay. So this is the.
This is also a brutal draft for the fact that we have to see Luka, for Hawks fans, seeing Luka in the Hawks hat, and then as we'll get into a little bit later, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander having to wear the Charlotte Hornets hat in this draft as well,
man.
which is a forgotten thing that Shai also was traded on this night as well. That's kind of just overlooked.
And there were no other famous guys wearing hats for teams that they didn't go to in this draft.
I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Put the hat on.
The Alfred Payton thing.
God
All right,
damn,
so
dude.
we're gonna do this as if it went to
14,
Atlanta.
5, and
Luka
5.
Doncic,
Say that at like 17 years old, the second best league in the world.
And he got better as the year went on too.
The second best league.
He was better in the playoffs too, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
it was insane. It was so. You watch any Luka, like I'm still so mad about this. He was clearly the best player. It's like one of the biggest
Slovenia was
malpractice.
pretty fresh off of winning gold at the Eurobasket too. I think it was like 2017 or something.
Yeah, him and Dragic, right?
Yeah, Dragic.
Incredible.
He is maybe a minus athlete, but he is a plus playmaker. People compare him
Tyreek
to Manny
Evans.
Harden, Tyreek.
Manny
he just
Harden's
won
good.
the
I mean,
EuroLeague,
Harden
correct,
especially.
He won everything.
He won everything you can win in
He
Europe.
played like for a year and a half
Kevin.
straight.
Yeah.
A plus, baby.
Nailed it.
A plus. And I'll tell you what,
Carlisle's
you
offense,
mentioned that he's a minus athlete, Chris. I don't think that's true. I think Doncic is a good athlete, not a great one, and people seem to knock him for that. Elite playmaker, clutch, won everything at 19 years old. The only weakness is really defense, but other than that, he does literally everything on the court.
What do you think about the match with him and Smith?
Yeah,
Think
that's
they
a
can play together.
It does.
Feels like who gives a shit?
I mean, if you have to trade Dennis Smith Jr. to make room for Luka Doncic, you do it. But I think they can certainly.
You had like 18 seconds of pleasure, and now they're like trade my favorite
You
Maverick.
can play both of them at the same time.
Right. You got like okay. So Jason
I will say,
Gallagher, one of our
Luka's an
Maverick
elite
players,
dad bod athlete.
Yeah.
Like Luka
All
is
time.
probably one of the best athletes that like looks like me with his shirt off. So like,
The definition of sneaky athleticism.
yeah,
Luka.
Have y'all ever seen him in person?
no, he's huge. He's so
He
big.
is. It's actually shocking how big he actually is. Like, you know that he's tall, you know that he's big, but then you see him, especially next to other NBA players, and it's like, oh my God, this guy is fucking huge.
Yeah, he's massive. He's so tall. He's got the LeBron thing, but just like for a guard, because LeBron's kind of the same way. If you ever see LeBron in person, it's like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Is he like 6'10"? Like, what the hell? Like, yeah, and Luka's like a clean 6'8", and like to me, it's like what it looks like to me. Like, I think he's like was like side by side with Robert Williams and like very similar. Robert Williams was like an inch taller than him.
The two best players from the 2018 draft.
Correct.
Tell me what's going through your heart and mind.
I think it's great. I want to keep Dennis, Luka, have them play together. I
Oh,
don't
God.
understand. The best teams in the league have players that don't make sense that they're playing together. Why can't this work?
The mouse played
How many
Because of the
people watched
Sixers?
Mavs
Let me
games
just
last
say
year?
one
Let's
thing.
pull the room.
Jason Gallagher will cut bait with Dennis Smith Jr.
Oh no! Oh no! The Knicks fan saying this, by the way, I do just want to point this out.
That is ironic.
That is funny that he ends up getting traded to the Knicks. Obviously, you know, the Porzingis trade didn't really work out for you guys, but it is funny that seeing the future here a little bit with Jason Concepcion.
Well, I want to throw Jason some bail too, because Dennis Smith was and still is like a beloved Mavericks guy. Like,
That's so
every
funny.
Mavs fan loves him, and you know he was pretty. His rookie year was fine. Like he finished 5th in Rookie of the Year voting. Like, he wasn't bad as a rookie. It just kind of was obvious immediately. that he wasn't another one of these guys, like really highly touted high school guy, uber athlete. Like, it was just obvious he wasn't going to be a star. And then it got ugly pretty much immediately with him and Luka. And
I gotta say, this might age poorly, but I'm a little bit worried about Scoot for the same reasons.
Yeah, I will say I love Dennis Smith, and like part of the reason was I watched the NC Duke game, which was like his best game of the year, and that was like the only time I ever watched Dennis Smith, and I was like, he's the best player in the draft. Like 2016, it's like Ben Simmons, and then I did like Ingram. I did think Ingram was second best, but like at 3, I was like, you can think about Dennis Smith at 3. I'm just gonna say.
No, he was 2017.
Oh, 2017? Oh, sorry, never mind.
He was the Tatum draft.
Yes.
I mean, LeBron like shit on the Knicks almost immediately into Dennis Smith Jr.'s rookie year and said that they could have had Dennis Smith Jr. instead of Frank Ntilikina. And us Mavs fans were like, let's fucking go.
Amazing. Amazing. I love the rookie hype that we get about certain guys, and then looking back at it years later.
To be clear, I also think Dennis Smith Jr. is like an NBA player. Like,
yeah, he is for sure.
Who he was in Brooklyn, like defense. I like his like archetype of player, like defense first guard guys. I have a soft.
I want to see him on a good team.
He's not currently on a roster. It is kind of weird that like that is like a forgotten skill set a little bit. I know that the offense is still a little rough because the shooting never came around, but just being like an elite point of attack guard specific defender is not really something that can obviously get you on an NBA roster nowadays. I would be interested to see if someone does pick him up. But by the way, real quick question for you, Slightly. Do you believe Rick Carlisle that he actually wanted Donovan Mitchell, or do you think that's just I wanted the guy who's good? Because I remember that leak came out after the Donovan Mitchell versus Dennis Smith Jr. thing in his rookie season.
Yeah, I think I believe Rick. Rick, I think, is actually a pretty good draft guy, it seems like. Because I want to say, and I could be wrong, somebody in the chat, Mavs people, but the organization was so split on Tyrese Halliburton. I want to say Rick Carlisle was so massively in on Tyrese Halliburton.
Makes sense.
That the Mavs were trying to trade Brunson to get him, and this was before Brunson like really broke out, but they were trying to do everything in their power to move up in that draft. So I think Rick's actually a pretty damn good drafter.
I actually think friend of the show, Haralabob parody. I think that he actually backed up what you're saying. I think him and Rick Carlisle were the two that wanted him, which makes sense because he's a huge analytics guy, and Halliburton was the best player analytically in that draft class. So.
Well, I want to say too, it is kind of a miracle that around this time in the Mavs franchise that they get Luka and they get this solidified guy they can build a team around for the next 15 years or so, because their front office was a fucking mess around this time. We didn't really know until later, but Donnie Nelson was like halfway out the door. Like there was 6 or 7 different decision makers. It sounded like at any given moment. There were reports by the end of Chandler Parsons' career here that he was like basically the GM of the team in some ways.
Wait, what?
Yes, there are reports that Chandler Parsons was like making decisions by the end of his career here.
Oh my, you literally are describing the Sixers collective front office, but the only difference is that we hired Elton Brand when he was already retired, as opposed to still playing for the team. So that's incredible.
October 26, 2021, Chandler Parsons had more roster control with the Mavericks than GM Donnie Nelson.
What the fuck? I've never even heard that. Jeez, well, he earned that contract from the Grizzlies then. So
yeah, that was their angle. It was like, maybe, well, we basically get a GM.
Maybe Hollinger was like, he's a good
save
scout.
money on execs,
because they make so much more than players.
I was gonna say, you think about player coaches like Bill Russell, who is obviously the standard. Then you have your player GMs like Chandler Parsons, who stumbles out of the club with Cuban at 3 a.m. and is like, you know who we should get.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Speak of Dennis Smith Jr., I don't even know what you're talking about. They don't understand.
They don't understand.
Sharks, what do you think about this?
I love it because like they had Beret in the role last year. You're replacing Beret with Luka Doncic. Like this is just
that's an upgrade.
Is that better?
I think it is an upgrade.
I'm
a
little
upgrade.
It
should be better. I think it is so stunning that three teams essentially have passed on Luka.
Yeah.
Number 1, number 2, and number 3 have all passed on him.
But we knew this was a terrible top 5.
I know, but it is still just stunning.
Maybe we all have
Luka
done it in 3
is
years.
so good as a prospect.
I know.
I'm surprised it was Dallas, though. Now that I'm thinking about it, Gons, like that actually, this doesn't feel like, just because of their enthusiasm, it doesn't feel like enough of a price tag for Luka.
Yeah.
not enough of a price tag?
Yeah, like I
mean,
feel like
wanna
they could have gotten more.
I want to see what the protections are on
Yeah,
that pick.
right.
Like,
We
if
don't really know.
We don't really like
Yeah.
when you say a future first round pick. It could be anything, right?
Right.
I mean, like, is it top 1
So that could
protected?
be like
is it top
next
3
year's pick,
protected? It could be next
unprotected.
year.
Yeah.
What year is it? It could be a very valuable pick because despite the fact that, yes, I think that Luka Doncic greater than symbol JJ Barea, I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
They're going to be a bad team again.
Top 7 pick at that.
Yeah, they're going to be a bad team
It'll be
again,
a high
even
pick.
with Luka, and I like Dennis Smith Jr. a lot. But it's going to be a good pick for the next year, 2 years, however long it takes for them to reboot their franchise. So I want to see what the protections are.
Wait, can we pour out a 40 for Mark Cuban's 6-year streak of terrible moves?
I don't think we have 40s, but like
We should have
metaphorically,
40s.
yeah.
I mean, that was a 6-year run.
By the way,
He's kind of cooking there.
I do just want to point out here that Gonzo, who was just talking about that, we were so process hinky brain at this point as Sixers fans that he's like, I need to see the protections on the pick before I like the trade or not. That's very obviously the best prospect that they are getting in this draft class at pick 3. So.
That's
Every
pretty good.
move they made was terrible.
Well, it was a
and now they
6-year
just
run of
made
like
an
we're just gonna
unbelievable
hold all. Oh, we got a trade.
So Sean Yu's messaging it to me right now.
Oh,
If the pick is
Another
unprotected
trade?
in 2021, that's really a win for Atlanta to get that. Granted, they lose.
2021.
No trade alert.
What?
The Mavs still might sign Boogie Cousins, so there is still time for them to screw this up. But they are on the verge of becoming.
is that a
the new
screw up
Knicks.
though?
The Mavs?
Yeah, Boogie coming off an Achilles.
Yeah.
I don't want him on my team, especially at what he's going to cost.
Oh, so you're saying sign Boogie, pair him with Doncic?
That's the latest
You think
rumor.
Boogie and Doncic in the club is a good idea? Yes.
I don't even remember
They're
that.
going for a big this summer, whether it's DJ
I remember that
I
or
don't even remember these Boogie to Mavs things that they're talking about. They
Yeah, I
got
don't remember
DeAndre
this
Jordan
either.
this summer.
Yeah, well,
Oh God,
jeez.
the saga.
Like a
Yeah, it
7,500
reached.
word
It
pick
finally
and roll.
concluded.
Watch the love here.
Yes. Let's go.
That's who hired Bickerstaff? That was not good. Is that Memphis?
No, it's Memphis.
If you throw
That
Max
was a
Capella
bad
right
one.
now,
Memphis is another team here that could potentially trade.
That
as
goes
well.
back to our Derek Fisher versus Mark Jackson, who gets hired first argument. Like Bickerstaff got hired over both of those guys.
Memphis is on the clock right now.
Still head coach in the
and
league.
We've been hearing a lot about them trying to get out from under this Parsons deal. Jaren Jackson's on the board still. Mohamed Bamba still on the board. I think
Can we pull back like across the parking lot with this camera angle with Woj? It's like
there's no way that Memphis is going to
coming off
take Trey
Woj.
here. But who do you like for Memphis here? Jaren Jackson?
I like Wendell Carter or Jaren Jackson. One of those two.
Wendell
big
Carter
names.
would be a little bit
they're not taking Mo
got
Bamba,
Tate's
the guy that I
attention.
prefer.
They're not.
But, I think Jackson. There was a report earlier tonight that Jackson's growing more comfortable in going to Memphis. Only 18 years old. Charks, I know you love him as well. One of the most best potential defenders in the draft.
Charts.
Okay.
Cool.
No
Tate,
Bamba.
Tate,
Wow.
why wouldn't you take Jackson?
I don't like. They're all old in Memphis, and they're going to bring an 18-year-old that has like a
Great point.
pretty
Great-
big
great
outlook
point.
on himself. Like, that's a lot. I mean, Gasol's going to set him straight.
And with Jackson, like,
So
he's
true.
gonna struggle
It's
with
so
The thing
true.
I wanted to ask too is like now because of this trade.
That's a college basketball brain take right there.
when you-
through
when
and
you-
through.
so is, yeah.
When you got Mike Conley and Marc Gasol, as the West is getting better around them and they're entering their early to mid 30s, you gotta worry about how this 18-year-old is going to fit in
Yeah.
with core. You know?
Yeah, it's gonna make a huge fucking difference if you get a 21-year-old or a 19-year-old.
I mean,
Like,
who
these guys-
would
fucking
not
cares?
Be, who
Yeah.
would not be incredibly young at this point? They're all
Yes.
one and dones until you literally get to Mikal Bridges. I think
I was just about to ask, well, who are even the
Bridges would be the
interesting
only one.
prospects? Yeah.
he's the only one that would have been, because MPJ was a one and done, Trey was a one and done, Bamba was a one and done, Wendell Carter Jr. was, Colin Sexton, Kevin Knox. Literally, you would have to go all the way to pick 10 to get someone who spent more than 1 year in college and wasn't 18 or 19 on draft night.
But mind you, Marcus Gasol gets traded months later.
Yeah, I know. Right.
And they had to know that was going to happen at some point.
Exactly. Great call.
Bamba is the guy who's slipping a little because we thought that the ceiling on his, we thought he'd be gone by 5. Is there a possibility? Like, does Orlando need a Bamba? Like, I'm wondering whether he
Orlando has a lot of bigs. How many of those bigs are going forward? Like, how many of those guys are going to stick?
on Orlando.
Yeah, you have Biombo, who's not a piece they're going to go
But they
for.
owe him like $1 billion.
It's fine. You just don't worry about it.
It's a rookie contract.
Don't worry about it.
He's not going to play anyway.
I did hear though, Bamba apparently posted up a broomstick yesterday and made like 7
So,
straight jump hooks. What?
Grizz are on the clock here. We're pretty certain. Woj just tweeted it's going to be Jaren Jackson from Michigan State, which Tate has just pointed out he's skeptical about.
Not that I don't like Jaren Jackson's game, I just don't like
him on the Grizz. You don't like the fit.
Wait, does that mean they try to trade Gasol over the next 2 weeks?
I don't know. I've heard that they want to try to push for the playoffs, and Jackson goes against that.
Who's they? Who are they with the Grizzlies? The weird owner, Kara?
I don't know.
For Orlando,
Wallace?
they've got 2
Chris
more
Wallace.
years of Biyombo. They can get out of Vucevic after this year.
God.
I mean, Justin might be right.
They don't have anyone for the future. And Isaac,
The Magic were done horrendous during this time. I do just want to point out because
Jesus,
this was after the Serge Ibaka trade where they traded Sabonis and Oladipo, which because we talked about it on the 2013 draft after they took Oladipo, they were like Tobias Harris, Vucevic, Oladipo, and we were joking like that in 2015 could win you like 50 games, like that, like you would be like a good team back then.
They
if you had those
traded.
three.
They traded a first and second team All NBA guy like in the future for Serge Ibaka, who was
one
like,
of the
already
lesser
on his
talked
way out.
about horrendous trades of the
It's
last
so
15
bad.
years.
It's also, if you think about it, I've talked about this before, but basically OKC was basically turns aging Serge Ibaka into Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and multiple other draft picks that didn't work out. But like, they're still collecting on that. If you think about the fact that they then turned Oladipo and Sabonis into Paul George, and then they flip Paul George into SGA and all those picks, it's just a masterful coup from Presti there. You got to hand it to the bastard Sam Presti every once in a while.
I don't.
Bill saying that Bill saying Mo Bamba posted up a broomstick is pretty damn funny.
He has a lot of good Mo Bamba lines here. You'll love.
Here comes Adam Silver for the Memphis pick. Okay.
Great suit.
Great suit.
Excellent
Great
suit.
suit.
I like this guy. I think this guy's gonna be good.
There you
Where are
go.
going with KFC?
Jaren Jackson from Michigan
It's kind
State.
of lukewarm.
He's a shot blocker. He's incredible defender. One thing that people have said about him, maybe not always the best player on the floor, is a very high pick for a guy who's been complimentary with Kev. You're giving Jaren Jackson a B.
A B. Yeah,
Okay.
Look, Jaren Jackson, only 18 years old. There's no denying his potential elite defensive ability. For me, I'm not sure I see that offensive ceiling for him that you might see.
Friend of the show, Dean on Draft, famously said that he had GOAT equity. Just throwing that out there.
Jaren Jackson?
Yeah, he said he has a sliver of GOAT equity.
That's awesome. God, Dean cooks, man. Like,
Dean crushed this draft, though. He was a very big Luka guy. Yeah, and I think he had Luka, Jaren Jackson Jr. 2, and 8 and 3, I believe. So pretty good.
With other guys, and then he has a fouling issue that he really needs to solve, which isn't something that other big men haven't had. Joakim Noah used to foul as a freshman. Joel Embiid did as well. But it is
Still was an issue.
Yeah,
still is an issue.
Especially playing in Memphis, and they're going to be trying to win games. But he's certainly a young talent.
They are not going to be trying to win games.
I was trying to think who was on that team still.
It was like literally all leftovers.
Tayshaun Prince.
I'm sure Jaren Jackson's going to help me play more than 20 minutes.
I think he was gone by this point.
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah, it was Chandler
Who would you
Parsons.
have taken if you were them?
It was Chandler Parsons.
Mo Bamba would be my guy. But,
Oh my God.
But they,
Let's go. Here we go.
And Mo Bamba also didn't give the medical or want to go to Memphis.
So now we
why
have.
wasn't Mo Bamba giving medicals to teams? Did we figure that part out? That seems suspicious, Chris.
I'm not Mo Bamba's doctor.
Well, he gave medicals.
Oh, I thought it was the best
am.
part of the stream.
That's why he's not
Bamba
doing
is the healthiest player that we've ever seen in the last 20 years.
The longest arms we've ever seen.
Whatchamacallit, the Mavs are going to be on the clock here, 5 minutes left, but we are all under the assumption that they're taking Trae Young for Atlanta. Then that trade's going to go through Doncic and Trae Young swapping with another pick from Dallas going to Atlanta for next year.
Shouts to Joakim Noah.
That's the comp.
That's going to put Orlando essentially is on an extended clock here. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
That's like the worst comp.
It is.
No,
It is. You were hoping for Trae Young?
Yeah, I was hoping for some excitement. We don't need another tall guy who can't play. We've got those.
Wow.
Got it.
I don't know if that
Nailed it.
What about
I know he's tall. That's all I
Kevin?
know.
Let me see. Would you be interested in Michael Porter Jr. here?
No, because we have some injured guys too. So we're basically all set. We should just pass on the pick.
Oh man, we almost just passed on the pick. We almost had the Michael Porter Jr. Jonathan Isaac duo. That would have
that would have been something else.
Oh man, that would have been
over
special,
under
man.
how many games those two even played together at the same time.
Yeah.
20?
Dude, their G League team would be playing at Mar-a-Lago right now if that happened.
Yeah.
Like,
they'd have the Trump 2024 patch on their jersey.
yeah. We're raising assassination attempt awareness. That's what Isaac would have been kneeling for during the national anthem.
I remember Magic fans at this time really wanted Trey. So
Yeah, Magic fans were big on Trey. I don't even remember why, but I know
think
that
they just wanted a guard.
Yeah, they probably because their whole team was At this point, it was Evan Fournier was their best guard, I believe. So any team that has to watch Evan Fournier try to be, a perimeter creator as a lead guy would definitely be starving for any sort of shot creation.
Yeah.
Pass.
Yeah. Like remember the Vikings would just every once in a while.
They
just
did
miss
it
the pick.
like 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Isn't the worst case scenario Michael Carter Williams 2.0?
With who?
SGA for Orlando.
Oh, bad one.
That's a big swing and a miss.
Is that why he was low on him? Like every.
That's the only.
So I know for a fact I was not high on SGA during this draft. Keep in mind, he was in the Sixers range, and I probably was scarred from having Michael Carter Williams, Ben Simmons, Fultz. There was question marks about his shot, but if you look back, I had some sort of Mandela effect. He actually shot like 40% from three on low volume in college and was a good free throw shooter.
Yeah.
So I don't know what in my mind also thought that he wasn't going to be able to shoot. I guess it was just the low volume is my guess, but I
Wasn't it like a mechanic thing?
I think his shot was funky, if I remember correctly. And keep in mind, I'm coming off of Ben Simmons not shooting, Fultz having a broken shot. So I was like, just stay away from the guy with the funky jumper. Like that's his game in general is just kind of funky. But
you came around on this. I mean, we talked about this. Like Bill was like sandbagging SGA and like his trade value rankings up until like 2 years ago.
2022,
but,
yeah. I mean,
like,
I remember we both said we would have had him like top 20 in our trade value rankings, and this was before he made the leap to MVP candidate, obviously. And Bill had him in the 40s, I think, around like the Bradley Beal area.
I think Bill anchored on this. I think Bill decided he was Michael Carter Williams and then just like didn't adjust.
Never
for,
adjusted.
Years.
Even though in 2021 it was obvious he was going to be a future star, if not like a current star. That year that he had, Al Horford and George Hill, then they had the injury.
Chris Paul.
Well, the Chris Paul year was like you started to see the steps, but it was really that next year during 2021 when he like started to fully break out.
And they shut him down halfway through. Was that the year Mike Conley got his Grandpa All-Star bid finally? Because I remember, I thought Shea deserved. I remember advocating super hard for Shea getting that All-Star. Anybody in the chat I'm a huge Shea Gilgeous-Alexander guy. I think we talked earlier about the empty stat thing. Bill is still a victim of that though.
Yeah,
Bill is a very big. If you're on a bad team, your stats don't really mean anything at all.
Exactly. Yeah. Even though if you looked at like when you put SGA with normal NBA players, specifically George Hill, Al Horford, because keep in mind they were trying to tank, so they weren't playing him with any real NBA players, and any lineup that was that he was having he had a positive net rating and his numbers were off the charts. And you're right. And you know what's funny is that it's kind of so I don't know if you remember this, but Mike Conley, the year that he probably should have made the All-Star team was actually Damian Lillard's first year making the All-Star team. And that was 2014, I think. And Dame probably got it a year early because we all knew Dame was going to be that guy. And they kind of went back and they kind of snubbed SGA. And then they gave it to Conley years later. And keep in mind, they actually, weirdly, this is untalked about. They didn't even remove anyone from the All-Star team, if I remember correctly. They literally just added Mike Conley last second.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Well, I don't think they even removed anyone from the team. I remember it was very weird.
Well, Shea got shut down. Shea, I think, was already Shea was so good by his second year in OKC. They had to essentially shut him down 2 years in a row to tank. Like he was hurt, but they could have brought him back and they didn't.
That's the genesis of me like despising Sam Presti, because I just hated that. I thought that was I am of the opinion they just completely made up his injury, and like all the Thunder fans were like, no, he didn't play in the Olympics or whatever the fuck. Like there was some like international thing that he didn't play in either, and I was like, no, it was made up. It was whatever. No, it was Devin Booker was the injured.
Gotcha. So it was a late injury replacement.
Late injury.
Yeah. I just remember being very weird. They were like, they told Mike Conley he can come like literally the day before the All-Star game. And I was like, this is strange. So so it probably should have been SGA, but he also might have been injured at that time. To be honest.
Going back to SGA, just last point. Now look, I don't endorse fascism, but you can't deny Chris Paul's effect on SGA.
True.
SGA was shaped by fascism. The trains ran on time. And you look at him now. Like,
Chris Paul, the great reformist. Every young player that played with Chris Paul got their shit together for at least a year or two. Ayton, he helped Bridges take the next step. Booker take the next step. I mean, so many young guys. SGA. It is important to have some structure in there. We need to do like an NBA political compass where like the authoritarian right is like the psycho like competitive, like you've got your Chris Pauls up there and everything else, and then you have like your DeAndre Aytons on like the other side, like missing the game because the car is too like is slippery, like the ground.
I forgot
is too
about
slippery.
that.
Like
anti DeAndre Antifa.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, that's a good point. Wimby's going to get that fascism boost this upcoming season.
Yeah. That is under discussed for sure. Maybe we're not really factoring that in. Maybe I should be higher on the Spurs.
Yeah. Works for pods.
I don't think he's that good. I don't think any of these players are that good.
Look,
all these players are trash.
Yeah, so the Magic are going to draft Mo Bamba at 6.
Oh.
Kevin?
Well, scrap that. We got another big.
Let's get the Twitter tweet up. The Mavs will draft Trae Young for Atlanta, and they're nudging Orlando in the direction of Bamba.
God, remember when Mark
And
Stein
we're
could
nudging
break
Kevin
news?
towards
That was crazy.
elation, depression.
It's fine. Watching a draft, you know how like in Marvel movies, there's always the after credit scene where it just tells you what's coming. There's the next movie. That's a draft with the Magic. I'm just at the end of it, just looking forward to next year's. Overall, it will be in the same spot.
I mean, if you're building a defense, you want those guys that could switch on to everything. With Isaac, you keep Gordon, you keep Bamba. I mean,
They had Aaron Gordon.
That's a big front line. It's athletic.
You need a guard, but they've needed a guard for 5 years.
It's just too bad that they have no guards at all.
No, that's not true. They have DJ Augustine
And Evan
they have
Fournier.
Shelvin Mack.
Yeah, that's right.
Shelvin Mack.
Wow, Shelvin
That's
Mack.
right.
That is a blast from the past.
Oh, that might be SGA. Is he Alfred Payton 2.0? Is he Michael Jordan?
Man.
Mock 3.0 that
He's very Joey Gallo in this draft. He's swinging hard. And when he hits,
he's going Kyle Schwarber mode.
It looks like Fournier's going to be there for Chicago at 7.
Yeah.
Do you think that he bounces back from this fall that people had been saying he was having?
No, I think he's going to continue to fall. There was noise earlier tonight that he could go to 12 to 13 at the Clippers, who Steve Ballmer loves him, a Seattle guy. Jerry West likes him as well. However, I also heard some noise that maybe they might pass on him at 12 and 13.
Here's Adam Silver, the pick that we think is Trae Young.
Is he saying that about SGA? Because KOC
No.
kind of cooked there.
Out of the lottery entirely.
No, he's talking about Michael Porter Jr., I think.
Absolutely lights out shooter, 27 points a game at
Oh,
Oklahoma.
he's digging deep for this one.
God, he was so good at OU.
And had an incredibly hot first half of the college basketball season, and then cooled off as the season went on.
That
Kevin,
team, real
when you
quick,
did
that
this right
OU
now,
team,
oh!
again, this was the only time. Wow, a D.
A D for
Jesus.
the Trae Young pick is brutal, especially when you consider
He might be grading the move.
Okay, that's true.
If you're factoring in the Luka factor as well, I can understand. But if I remember correctly, I'm going to let him cook here for a second, because if I remember correctly, I don't think he liked Trae Young that much. But we'll watch it.
Because they're chasing Steph Curry dreams right here. And it's probably going to turn into a nightmare for them. Because Trae Young, he is not an all-time great shooter like Stephen Curry is. He's going to be a really good shooter.
True.
Maybe a great shooter in the league. but he doesn't have Steph's elite shooting ability, and he's going to get picked on defense, as we saw in the playoffs this year with small, tiny point guards, and he's going to be one of the tiniest of them all in the NBA.
Here's the thing. Atlanta's not going to the playoffs anytime soon, right? So is this a way to drive some excitement around the franchise?
I mean, is it going to be that exciting? How many rookie point guards have come in right away and made
Adam
an
Silver
impact?
is taller than him.
I mean, that kind of says it right there.
He played power forward at
Can I
Harvard.
give a counter take?
Give a counter take.
I think Jaren Jackson's going to be really good.
And
I
Memphis.
think Trae Young's going to be really good.
Okay.
And I think Mo Bamba's going to be working here in about 7 years.
Okay, hold on. By the way, this was the 2018 draft. This might be Mo Bamba's last year in the NBA. I'm not even joking.
it really
He might have called it exactly, because this was 6 years ago. 1 year from now, Clippers fans are going to learn this year. Mo Bamba absolutely sucks. Get ready to learn the ringer, buddy.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Yeah.
He's absolutely awful.
We might have to get ready to learn the ringer, buddy. Like, ready. But it's gonna be sad because then the ringer's gonna die when Bill leaves. So Mo's only gonna work there for like 6 months.
Damn. Yeah, and then Bill's gonna jump to Amazon, which and he'll run the whole show and get Charles Barkley to leave TNT. And unfortunately, we're not gonna have we're gonna have the Mo Bamba ringer, just like everywhere else. It's not gonna last long for Mo Bamba.
It is like very funny to think about Mo Bamba like actually working for the ringer, and you're like assume he's going to be doing NBA coverage, but it's like his first piece is like Shogun swept the Grammys. What does that mean?
does have a connection to music. I mean,
he's on the rewatchables immediately.
Yeah.
He's a recurring rewatchables guest. That's it.
Mo Bamba's like in on the Forgetting Sarah Marshall like rewatchables thing.
I love this movie, guys. This is one of my all-time favorites.
Mila Kunis was at the top of her game, right?
Yeah,
here. Like,
absolutely.
Jason Segel really had it. This was Stoller at his best, folks.
Mo, would you say this is the last of the great Apatow films?
God damn.
Look, it's a year before I Love You, Man. I don't even know if he was associated with that one, but
no, I don't think he was associated with Forgetting Sarah Marshall. To be clear, he was executive produced.
He produced it. Yeah. He wasn't a director or writer. That was you're right. That was Stoller. But
man, we got to figure out a way to get this clip to Bill Simmons so he knows that to fulfill the prophecy.
He will. He will hear it. Literally, playback CEO, if you're watching, send all of this to Bill. He told me he was going to do it with the last one we did. So
yeah,
I think Trey's going to be a quality offensive player, right? Like Trey Burke last year was very effective for the whoever it was, the Wizards. And I don't know, whoever. But I think Trae Young is going to make an impact on offense.
The Trays.
It's just about what level he reaches. If he's elite, then he'll be fine. But I don't think he'll be an elite scorer.
Tate, are you in on Trae or?
Yeah, I want to ask you about Bembry. So if you have Bembry next to him, so if it's Trae Young,
God,
DeAndre Bembry,
Bazemore at the 3.
Yeah.
So they have 3 ball handlers, so he doesn't have to be.
It's the second Bembry mention. Zach Lowe brought him up on the podcast.
Oh my
last
God,
week.
that team was terrible.
Yeah.
Where he doesn't have to have that
He doesn't have to play point guard.
Also, DeAndre Bembry and Kent Bazemore mentioned as ball handlers.
I was just about to say, what?
Man.
I have not watched them since they were in college. I assume that they handled the ball in the NBA still.
Oh, damn, dude.
Well, that's like Steph's role in Golden State. Like Draymond handles
You're
the ball.
basically JJ Redick. You're running off screens and getting open and taking.
Kevin, as you hear people talk,
So that's actually shocking that the college guy is not like, guys, Trae Young's going to be really fucking good. Because
Yeah.
that
He
OU
was a
team
good college
sucked.
player. Yeah.
That OU team was absolutely abysmal, and they said that he had a bad second half. That was only because teams realized if you double or even triple team Trae Young, the moment he crosses half court, there's not a single other player on this team that can do shit.
I was gonna say I don't remember anyone from that Oklahoma team.
They were horrible. They were horrible. They were absolutely terrible, and defenses just started to figure him out. But man, Trae was so good. I don't think people remember ESPN. It wasn't to the extent of Zion. But there was Trae Young. They covered Trae Young on SportsCenter every single night. Yeah. He was like that rare college basketball player that they had his stats on the screen in random college basketball games. It was crazy.
Like the Steph comparison was a little out of hand, but it wasn't totally off base. It was a very similar level of swagger and aura. So like to a Trae Young game, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, but the thing about Trae is that we obviously learned over time that he's more like a diet Steve Nash than he is a Steph Curry, because
a much better playmaker than they gave him credit for. Here.
Exactly. I was going to say the playmaking is obviously where he made his money in the NBA.
Man, I'm looking at the Ringers big board. KOC, I think he's even going light because he had him 11th in the shades of were Trey Burke and Aaron Brooks.
Oof. That's the Saints quarterback
for a 27-point per game score in college. Like, that's crazy to me.
That's tough. That's absolutely tough. All right, let's
feel somebody's not gonna have Trae Young.
I was because it seemed so likely to happen.
Yes,
I really had my heart set on it.
Had you started scouting Trae Young jerseys?
I had, and now I'm gonna scout Mo Bamba jerseys to wear, ironically, when he is not in the league in 3 years. So either way, I'm getting a jersey.
Okay,
it's just a different.
Mo Bamba will be in the league.
Time.
He will. He's tall.
Yeah, he's tall.
That's literally exactly why. Yeah.
This was. I don't find this. I didn't think that this was an awkward enough. Like, these guys seem disappointed with where they're getting traded. Both seem pretty happy about the trade. And they didn't. It didn't feel like too Curb Your Enthusiasm when they put the other team's hat on for a few minutes.
It's true.
It wasn't on the Alfred Dario
Can I
level.
ask Jason something?
Oh,
Do you think Dennis Schroeder is going to bully Trae Young at all this season?
About his haircut? Yeah, maybe.
He's not going to be there. He's gone.
Yeah,
Dennis is on the block, man.
Yeah.
Dennis has been on the block for like 3 years.
Who's trading for Dennis Schroeder?
The Thunder.
The Magic. They need a guard,
That's
right?
my
Ooh,
question too.
Dennis Schroeder in Orlando. I like it.
Who wants a point guard for like $17 million a year who's below average as a starter?
The Lakers literally offer him a bigger contract later.
Would you rather have Dennis Schroeder or Shelvin Mack?
Oh,
I think Sheldon, Steele's league to their Twitter account.
yeah.
I think you'd rather have Sheldon Mack because he's not a headache in the locker room, off the court, and everything.
Man,
people really went in on Dennis Schroeder. I mean, obviously, in retrospect, we know that Dennis Schroeder has kind of bounced around from locker room to locker room and had an all-time bag fumble with the Lakers. But the thing that Vernon, or I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but he just referenced was he said, I saw that Shelvin Mack was the steals leader for the Magic last year on their Twitter account. He was actually the assist leader that year. I don't know if you guys remember the famous Shelvin Mack meme where he averaged like 3.8 assists per game.
Yes.
And they were like, assist leaders. Well, technically someone has to lead the team in assists. So shout out to Shelvin Mack. Too.
Yeah, Butler legend, man.
Yeah. Gordon Hayward team, right?
I just didn't remember the Schroeder hate like this.
Yeah, this is they were ahead of their time.
No,
they really were.
Yeah.
Was he? Because was he on the Lakers by now?
No,
did he have his good OKC? Oh, okay.
No,
this
he
is
had not had
before
the
he
good.
got traded to OKC.
Yeah.
The
So that's why.
OKC year completely reshaped his career.
Yep.
Exactly. Yes. Again, fascism wins again.
Chris Paul, 3-guard lineups. They work somehow.
Look,
You gotta be
I don't
careful
want
with-
to say it's good that a German guy.
I was just about to say, you got to be careful here.
Yeah.
He is German. Don't forget that. Oh, Jesus Christ.
The Germans, the Italians, they need to avoid. Gallinari was on that team.
Yeah, Gallo was on that team.
Gallinari was on
Jesus, yeah. Chris Paul truly bringing them together as the axis of evil.
Oh man, keep Rui away from Chris Paul.
I was just going to say, they just need a Rui. It would have been complete.
Incredible.
Almost everyone, we talk about the point guard glut all the time. Almost everybody has a point guard that they at least like, whether it's justified or not. With the Knicks, maybe. No?
I love Frank. I think he's
You
going to
would
develop
put
into a player.
yourself in a short.
I liked Frank
Schroeder,
too.
no,
I'm going to be honest.
I don't want Schroeder.
Why don't the Knicks just call
So we have
Frank
the
a point
protections
guard
on this
and
trade. What is
be cool
it?
with it?
So the protections
Because he's just not ready for like full time.
protections on the Dallas 20. It's a 2019 first rounder, protected 1 to 5.
Oh,
That's great.
There you go.
Shams.
What does it turn
Charks,
into
let's
if
go.
it-
My boy
if it-
Charks is
It's
cooking back there.
according to Shams, well, that's what
He
we have
knew.
right now.
So we still don't know.
So it's 2019 first
Do we-
round pick to Atlanta.
That's a
mean-
robbery.
Do we think that
Yep.
Shams is Woj's
Complete
burner? Like,
robbery.
has anybody ever seen them together?
I haven't. I haven't
Great-
hung out with anyone.
great
They've been
theory.
working together all along.
Yeah.
In 2018, completely plausible.
Yeah.
That's
Here it is.
brutal. Here we go.
Don't do it, Orlando.
There we go.
I like it.
All right, the Orlando Magic take Mo Bamba. Gons wrote a long feature about him. You can learn all about him. He's 20 years old from the University of Texas. 12 points, 10 boards a game. Has been working on his shot all summer, so he's expanding his game to out beyond the perimeter. I think that we just didn't get to see him maybe at his best at Texas, but like a lot of people have a lot of good things to say about him. People compared him to Tyson Chandler and Rudy Gobert in terms of his ability to guard the paint. But we're talking about a guy who might be able to move his game out beyond the perimeter, which is a pretty exciting prospect. Kevin, what do you give this pick?
An A.
All right.
Mo Bamba is a guy. Bill's not happy. Bamba has a foundation to be a quality NBA player, even if the three-point shot doesn't develop. Because of his 7'10" wingspan.
It's the only part of his game that did develop. He's actually like a decent shooter for a big.
And offensively, he can
That's all he can do, though.
He can throw down lob dunks and everything else.
No, he
If the
can't. He has
shot
horrible
develops,
hands.
Then there's a new level to what he can become as a player, and that's what makes it so exciting for Orlando.
You know, my daughter had a party a couple months ago.
Good start to a story.
Can't wait to.
And my son, who should know better, there's like 50 people, comes out without a shirt on.
Okay.
And my
Where is this
attitude's
going?
He's 10.
My
I've done
career is
everything I
flashing
could
before
do.
my eyes.
I've tried to inspire him, parent him, lead him. It's out of my hands now. He's a little man. That's how I feel about Kevin Zay. He's been with us for 2 years. I've done all I can do. He's on his own. His shirt's off. And he's That's how I feel. Does that make sense? That analogy makes
But Bill, we talked about this on the pod. You said you were starting to get swayed. What happened now?
I've turned.
Gut feeling. This is Bill's Oppenheimer moment. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He's realizing what he's created in front of the world, and he's like, "What have I done?" Mo Bamba is an A. The sixth pick in the draft.
Bill cooked, dude. Bill cooked on that one. He's still got the fastball every once in a while, man.
No,
Like,
he can tap into it sometimes. You know, he's in the phase of his career where it's a every 2 weeks thing instead of an every night thing. But
yeah.
I think the Luka stuff is throwing him off because now he feels like Luka was out there and he hates it. Yeah. John, you spent time with Mo Bamba. Tell us a little bit about this guy.
I'm torn for this one because I'm with Kevin. I'll rip my shirt off and get pumped and jack with Kevin on this one. I like Mo. He's very smart. He's obviously, I think like his baseline is he's going to be a very good rim protector. Like at the worst, he's going to be just really good defensively.
But
Now,
Donna Foyle was really smart.
the question, and by the way, he's going to be great at it. But no,
Bill, goddamn.
Like I like who he's working.
by all accounts, a very nice kid. Like that is why he got drafted. He's tall and is a nice guy, and that's good enough to be the sixth pick in the draft.
With Drew Hanlon. Drew Hanlon really helped. Jason Tatum, Bill's guy.
Before he broke his shot.
Did he help him get better shooting?
Drew's got quite the shopping cart right now.
He does.
He's got to fix Markelle Fultz's shot, and he's got to convince Bill about
Mo Bamba.
Yeah,
and he'll tell you all about it.
I think all of those things are positive for Mo, and I think Mo is trending in the right direction. My hesitation and earmuffs for Kevin Clark. He's going to Orlando.
Yeah.
This is the key point right here. It's the fit. No point guard. Who's their coach? Who's your coach, Kevin?
Steve Clifford.
Steve Clifford.
All right.
Wait, what? Steve Clifford coached the Magic?
I was just thinking the same thing.
Wait, did memory hold that?
In between the Charlotte, right? Oh no! Charlotte was after. So it went Vogel, then Steve Clifford, and Clifford coached them up through. If I remember correctly, did Clifford coach them up until Mosley? No, there had to be a coach in between, right?
He coached 3 years, and they went to the playoffs twice.
I was going to say because they were the 8 seed twice.
That makes sense.
That 8 seed that won the game. Didn't they win game 1 against?
The
I
Bucks.
forgot who the 1 seed.
The Raptors.
They won game 1 2 years in a row, I think.
Yeah, they beat the Raptors, and everyone was like, "LOL Raptors," because this was the year they won the title. But keep in mind, everyone's opinion of the Raptors at the time was that they were losers because they kept losing to the LeBron teams, and this was obviously before everyone had readjusted that they have Kawhi Leonard instead of DeMar DeRozan now. But they won, and then if I remember correctly, I think they beat the Bucks in game 1 in the bubble the next year.
Wow, so they went from Clifford straight to Jamal Mosley.
Yep. Yeah, it was
unless
21.
Unless there was a mid-season firing scenario.
Incredible.
Could have
Absolutely. I do remember that because I know Vagberg has told me many times that bad things about Steve Clifford's tenure when he was with the Magic. But
I completely memory hold that. I was conflating the Hornets tenures.
Again, we're gonna score less. We're gonna average less than 60 points for the entire season. I'm joking.
Okay.
I just don't know where the offense is gonna come from. I guess we have to be active in free agents, even though we don't have any money.
Okay.
In all seriousness, though, like the fit. Like,
Dog, did they tell Haley she couldn't talk during?
I don't know.
Oh, that's cool. Him and Devin.
She might be
Booker,
working.
They'll run the floor, and I see him on that team.
Everyone else is talking.
True.
They're too big, right, Justin?
It
just seems like an awkward team of guys that don't fit together. That's bad for him.
I think the good thing is Clifford ran a bunch of different offenses during his time with the Hornets. They were a big team playing through Al Jefferson one year, and then they're shooting a ton of threes 2 years later. So I think if you just give him enough guys to work with, he'll figure something out. And it's at least a 2-3 year building process.
He'll figure something out has been our motto for 6 years, and nothing has ever been figured out.
My thing is why are we talking about these older guys, these scrubs like Biyombo and Fournier? It's about the Jonathan Isaacs and Aaron Gordons of the world.
For 2 more years.
Yeah, but then they're gone, and then that's when it's about what do you have, and what you do have is you have a lot of length. You have Mo Bamba, Jonathan Isaac, Aaron Gordon to really build a really strong defensive.
That's, that's how they built their team now, but it's just very different and better.
Chicago is zeroing in on Wendell Carter with the 7th pick. Well,
Good pick,
it's
by
just,
the way.
It's just a Woj bomb.
Wait, I thought Woj wasn't supposed to do that.
Well, I don't know. Technically, they're just zeroing in.
Yeah, this was the year that Woj cooked with that.
I guess.
What a world. Okay, so Chicago is zeroing in on Wendell Carter.
My highlight of this draft was Tate nodding intently during Justin's Steve Clifford.
I love
Tate was like, he's right.
No, they got
we had some
lawyers.
good moments. We were well coached a couple times.
Unfortunately,
it's just like that's what it looked like with MKG playing instead of Klay Thompson. Right. I think that one thing that's worth noting right now is some of the guys who might be falling. So can we just take a quick reset? Obviously, the top picks of the draft so far, we've got DeAndre Ayton 1, got Marvin Bagley 2. We had a trade where Luka Doncic was drafted by Atlanta but traded to Dallas. Jaren Jackson goes to Memphis. Then Dallas drafted Trae Young to trade to Atlanta. So those guys. Bamba just goes to Orlando. Now the Bulls are on the clock and apparently going to take Wendell Carter, which means Michael Porter Jr. is still on the board. SGA is still on the board. Mikal Bridges and Miles Bridges are still on the board. And Kevin Knox, who we had heard was rising.
He's getting Porter ideas.
I will just say, like, I was fine with it until I saw him walk down the steps when they all came out. He looked very stiff. It was concerning.
You'll be walking by the commissary 5 days from now with Jason. He's going to be like, Porter was the #1 guy in high school.
They
could totally fix the back. Yeah. Jason, there was a thing earlier, like a clip going around of Kevin Knox slipping and saying our coach when talking about Fizdale as if he kind of knew he was going to the Knicks. If I'm offering you door number 1 is Porter, door number 2 is Knox, which one do you want to walk through?
Can there be more doors?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. What about the gateway to hell?
I'm gonna go with. I will go with Knox, and I hate this. It really is because I saw Porter. He can't walk. He couldn't walk.
Oh, you're so close.
Yeah, Jason, you got to trust yourself, brother.
The season's pretty much.
I can relate though to just going purely off vibes.
You like the red shirt philosophy.
Well, that's the thing is that Bill literally just reeled off the Jaren Jackson Jr., Trae Young, Mo Bamba thing. And that was all based on vibes because I knew he was actually in on Luka as a prospect, but those other guys, he's literally just going off based of what they've told him, and then he's just riffing. He went literally just off his gut and vibes there, and sometimes that can work. Obviously.
That's 50 years of ball knowledge.
There you go.
Yeah, you just synced up. Yeah, I want to be like Bill when I'm older. Well, in some ways.
YKB union busting.
Yes.
Talk soon.
Absolutely. I mean,
Silver for the
Trill is going to deploy me Pinkertons to throw Will in jail.
All right, so Adam Silver is making the Hawks Mavericks trade with Doncic and Young and another first rounder going to Atlanta for next year. It's protected. That's official. That's a great
So no Wesley Matthews.
Ooh. Wendell Carter Jr. goes to the Bulls. So Wendell Carter Jr. kind of playing in the shadow of Marvin Bagley at Duke this year. 19
New
years
Al
old,
Horford.
6'10".
Yeah.
People calling him Baby Horford.
Yep.
Does all the little things right. 13.5 points a game. Great passer. Good defensive instincts. Maybe not blow your mind with his speed. He did apparently just have a foot injury, but like has really solidified himself now. And Kevin, what's the grade for this Bulls pick?
For the second year in a row, F+ for the Bulls.
Oh!
Wow.
Oh, okay. You know, he actually did like him. He was doing a bit.
It's really
Good bit.
It's really if it were anybody else, if it were any other player, it would have been an F+.
This guy also may have won the fashion draft.
I had a legendary fit from Wendell Carter Jr.
Wendell Carter, he has been knocked for, average athleticism, but I think he's a guy. He has very few weaknesses. He can space the floor to three. He's a really good passer, possibly the best passing big in the draft. Strong defensive instincts, good rebounder, smart player, hard worker on and off the court. I think Wendell Carter's going to be in this league for 10+ years.
Slight RFD issue.
That's probably true.
Chicago sneaky.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't wrong. He didn't reach the heights that people thought he would, but
This
Yeah.
was the exact opposite of the Bamba conversation we just had. This guy fits a spot that they needed, brings skills that they needed, and he'll succeed. I like it.
Now it's Markkanen. It's the Chris Dunn revival. You assume they probably bring Levine back.
If they keep Dunn or Levine.
You think they get rid of
Who
Levine?
knows?
Is Levine restricted or unrestricted?
Restricted.
Yeah, they.
Now we
figure
have
that out.
what, 4 centers off the board within the first 7 picks in 2018?
Yeah, man. Didn't you watch the playoffs? Centers are all the rage.
I don't know. I think we're going to look back on this draft and wonder why a bunch of wings fell, because it just seems like these guys are going to get played off the floor to a certain extent.
I think it could end up that way.
Mo Bamba was really the only big though so far.
yeah, I was going to say it was Jaren Jackson Jr. obviously does not get played off the floor. And then Carter can hang. It's really just Mo Bamba. Yeah. Of these picks. Oh, Bagley. Oh, yeah.
And Ayton can hang.
I mean, during their finals run, he was on the
fine.
court always.
Yeah.
I did a little research, so that means that Kevin gave the Markkanen pick of F+, which is very funny.
Really?
Because
I feel like he was a big
last year.
Markkanen guy.
He said second year in a row. I mean, maybe he did it on the Justin Patton thing before the trade, because remember that was actually a Minnesota pick, the Markkanen pick. So maybe that was it. But it would be very funny if he gave the Markkanen pick an F+.
Well, all of these picks would have worked out somewhat decent for the Bulls if they had just any patience. But they just they had to push in the chips to win now and build that DeMar DeRozan Vucevic team. You got to do that when you get the chance.
Yeah, when you get a chance to make the play-in tournament every year, you have to do it.
Play-in contenders, baby.
I will say I do think they might have won a playoff series if Lonzo Ball didn't disintegrate into nothing. I
they
think
had one seed for how many months that one season?
2 months.
Yeah, 2 months. Yeah.
Would they have won a playoff series though? Who would they have beat in the East?
Who was the 4-5 that year? Because that was
that was 21-22.
matchup.
That was the year the Celtics went to the finals. The Sixers lost to the Heat. The Bucks. They got
Raptors. It was Raptors Sixers on the other side of the thing, right? They could have beat the Raptors.
Yeah, they probably could have beat the Raptors. That version of the no. The Raptors didn't make the playoffs that year. That was the Scotty Barnes, right? Oh no, I'm conflating.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It would have been. They could have got the 3-6 and beat the Raptors. Yeah. It's possible. That's a good point.
Yeah,
but they ended up getting destroyed by the Bucks.
What an amazing big man draft! How important it is in today's league to have a big man. This is a pivotal turning point.
We've been talking about this on pods. I know you guys have hit on a heat check, but that's this interesting theme of this draft. These big guys going. Does that mean these bad teams are out of step with the league, or does that mean the league is going to change because this big man talent infusion is going to change the way teams play?
Yeah, I mean, the league is constantly evolving, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 5 years ago, the idea of playing small ball and 5 out if you possibly can.
I love Danny saying, "Wait,
this is incredible."
Roger Sherman has tweeted. Donovan Mitchell is doing interviews for the Arena Jumbotron and just told Jaren Jackson Jr. he was the newest member of the Utah Jazz.
What?
What?
Haley, come get your boy.
This was
He's
just a
breaking
bad
news
draft
out there.
night.
What is
Rumor.
Does he mean that in like a metaphorical way?
Wait.
Rudy Gobert trade?
What if he just messed up?
I think Mitchell probably just.
All right,
Yeah. He literally just fucked up.
Why am I doing this interview? He must be a rookie.
He's a media rookie.
Donovan
Not
Mitchell
the
is
rookie of the year,
doing the most right now. He's been doing the most.
Wait, can we just walk it out for fun? If Parsons was in the deal,
For fun. Bill loves slop.
Utah would have been expiring back and some other stuff.
Let's go. He's always trying to think of it.
Yeah.
Bill's like, let's rattle off 6 or 7 mock trades right now.
Bill knows it's not happening, but wants to scrimmage some slops.
We watched the 2013 draft, and within the first 5 minutes of the broadcast, Bill brought up the Harden OKC trade. And I was like, this is literally for a decade. It was all he ever talked about.
Yep.
It was incredible.
That's hilarious.
King.
Jesus. Well, this tweet did not age great from Roger Sherman.
Yeah, Donovan
No.
Mitchell is doing interviews.
That's like a 40-minute flight.
Imagine those judgmental looks at Chandler.
I can't believe the arena jumbotron.
I know, right?
What if he lived in Vegas and played for the Jazz? He just helicoptered in.
Woj tweeted Cleveland prefers Colin Sexton for the number 8.
Yeah,
pick in
can
the
we
draft.
talk about Woj for a second? They said no
Woj is
tipping
the
picks,
sign thing
and
sent
he
him
keeps
on
saying that they're zeroing in on
Look
things
at
and they prefer things.
He's like,
It's amazing.
who, me?
Was this the year when he was going on the broadcast before the picks?
Yep.
Yeah.
Zeroing in.
That was
I don't know.
bad.
While we're waiting to
That
hear
was kinda
whether or not
awesome.
Donovan
That was
Mitchell is
so
the new
funny.
Woj or
This
just
was the year that he
misspoke.
had like the Lakers have a laser on Mo Wagner. And Anthony Simons, I remember the Blazers, like the end of that. There are a bunch of tweets out there that you can find that are
They're like titillated by the idea.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
He like was deep in the thesaurus about those. Yeah.
he was going deep in his bag.
To a jumbotron. Let's talk a little bit about Cleveland. The last time a exiting LeBron James dictated a pick, we wound up with UConn legend Shabazz Napier.
Yeah.
on
Love
the Heat.
Shabazz.
Colin Sexton is being tipped to go to Cleveland here, but do you think that has anything to do? Can you tie it all to LeBron?
Zippo. None.
No.
Colin
Okay.
Sexton had a great workout with Cleveland. He's a really good point guard.
What does this mean for Jordan Clarkson, though?
You know, for Jordan Clarkson, he's gonna have to learn how to not shoot the ball all the time. He's gonna have to learn fair.
Not touch the ball, not shoot the ball.
Now they're teammates in Utah.
So just to recap,
Yeah.
they traded Kyrie Irving for Colin Sexton.
They had no choice.
Really well.
They didn't have a choice.
They didn't have a choice?
They had a choice.
I
They
guess.
definitely had a choice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Are,
know.
They could have
are they going to bring up how the ESPN broadcast basically forced Colin Sexton to plead for LeBron James? to stay on the
No,
cast?
did they?
Yeah, his post-draft interview, they pretty much were immediately like, "What can you say to LeBron James about him staying?" He was like, "I hope you stay, LeBron. Would love to be your teammate." Or something
my
like that. It was
God.
so awkward.
Super funny.
Why?
Yeah, because he can't shoot yet.
Because they're taking the best player available.
Yeah, he's
They're
a-
not taking someone to fit
He's
in
a
with the team.
ball-dominant point guard. He doesn't want the ball in his
But
hands.
who could they take?
He's not going to stand to the right of LeBron like this right is.
Well, he's useless if he does that.
Yeah.
Who could they honestly? Who could they take that LeBron would be like, okay, yeah, that's gonna make me stay? I mean, like I
I
don't
think
see
Miles Bridges. I'm just like, I want Tristan Thompson, but better.
Either Bridges.
Let's see what Adam says here.
That's a great pick.
Okay, Colin Sexton out of Alabama. People
loves
were pretty
that
psyched about
pick,
him
too?
early on. 19-year-old, 6'1", point guard, super athletic, 19 points a game, 4 boards a game, 4 assists a game, rounding up. Is a gamer. Is like a really, really, really good athlete.
Lacks
Lines
pure
up people,
passing skills.
Has a little bit of a Westbrook
Versus
in him in terms of
low-quality
that-
shots.
That instinct. He's being compared to
Patrick
Bledsoe,
Beverly.
Beverly.
What?
Okay, all right. So his
Any-
comps here were Eric Bledsoe. I missed the second one, and
Marcus Banks.
Marcus Banks, and Patrick Beverly. Is this literally only because he played that game in college where 2 players got ejected and they had to play 3-on-5, and he was like a dog defensively? Because
Has to be.
his college tape would not have
Yeah.
defense has obviously been his weak point in the NBA because he's incredibly small. The offense has actually come around quite a bit in Utah, at least. It is just funny that that was the comps he was getting because of probably that one game.
By the way, shout out to Books You Haven't Read, who did confirm that KOC gave an F+ to Lauri Markkinen for the Bulls.
F+.
Incredible.
Awesome.
What the fuck is even an F+?
Not quite an F, but not quite a D.
Yeah.
Jeez. And he turned out to be a huge Lowry marketing guy too. So that's actually really funny.
I'd be interested in hearing why. Because what did they draft him 7th? Was that wasn't even a reach?
Yeah, it was the 7th pick in that draft.
I wonder what attributes Lauri Markkinen might have that would kind of made Kevin turn on that so dramatically.
I think wasn't Kevin a huge Dennis Smith Jr. guy or something?
I feel like that sounds right.
I'm trying to remember who else was in that draft. I think I'm trying to remember who his guys were in that draft. I don't even really remember, to be totally honest.
But he was a big. I believe he was a Brandon Ingram over Ben Simmons guy. I think that was one of his things that he stood out in the 2000. No, it was 2016. What was 2017? Oh God, I keep forgetting it too. So it was Fultz, Tatum, Lonzo. He loved Lonzo, if I remember correctly.
He had Tatum 2, Lonzo 3, Fox 4, Jonathan Isaac 5.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. Jackson 6, Malik Monk 7, Dennis Smith 8, Frankie Smokes 9, Donovan Mitchell 10. OG 11. Yeah,
I know.
Nice.
He
Yeah,
kind of killed this one.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. I mean, you obviously in retrospect it's easy to say now, but the Mitchell thing, we talk about it all the time. That like Mitchell was getting comped to these kind of Avery Bradley, Patrick Beverley types in college because he was more of a role player-y guy that actually got to the NBA and with more usage became a star, which is such a rare thing that happens where you're like a 3-and-D role player in college and then you become a superstar in the NBA. Like it's just not really a thing that ever happens. But
Kevin's best case scenario for Donovan Mitchell, there's 3 of them, and it's so funny because like Kevin's known for being like too positive on these. His best case scenario for Donovan Mitchell was Norman Powell, Avery Bradley, and Gary Harris.
Wow, that's I mean, athletic. 3, I mean, Powell not as much, but like 3-and-D types.
I mean, they're not terrible comps, but it's very funny that the one time he like didn't go over the top, like it was a guy who ended up being like an All-NBA. Like,
I'm very confused about the Markkinen F+ thing because his best case scenario for Markkinen was Dirk Nowitzki.
You think he has a chance to be Dirk Nowitzki, and you think that he's
and Ryan Anderson and Channing Frye are the other 2. And like those guys were like good-ish NBA players, and he had him 13. Like if you're picking 7th in the NBA draft, it's not like terrible to get those guys there. Like
that's hilarious.
So it sounds like Bam's really the only guy he super missed on.
Yeah, he had Bam pretty low.
Yeah.
Jared Allen 19, which is a pretty good call.
Yeah, Bam 27th. Best case scenario, Bismack Biyombo. I mean, just
to be fair, I remember a lot of the buzz around that draft. No one knew that Bam was actually good offensively until they got him in for workouts. Like everyone thought he was just going to be like a lob and defend guy. Like he showed some things in workouts, like with the ball and like creation and passing stuff that he never really showed at Kentucky when he was there because shocker, John Calipari did not maximize a prospect when he was in college.
Oh, no way. Oh, come on.
Insane.
That is true. He could have been shitting on them for the Jimmy trade in the grade.
That's probably what it was. I remember Sam mentioning earlier about the Justin Patton element and all that shit. And but yeah, that might have been it. They might have just been like trading Jimmy Butler for way too little.
Kev, Colin Sexton, Bama.
B-.
Roll Tide.
Colin Sexton, he had my favorite moment of the college basketball season, playing 3-on-5.
There you go.
In Alabama, a bunch of guys fouled out, got hurt, and he was still grinding, keeping Alabama in the game. That captures who he is as a player. But then again, there's the downside of that. Decision-making is a concern. Shooting is iffy for him, and he's kind of lean. So
again, not big issues for a point guard.
Take the counter.
Yeah.
I think he's the guy who stays in the gym till 2 in the morning until he makes 1,000 3-point shots.
He's not wrong.
I'm not worried about the shot. I think
Yeah,
he's
and he
got the extra
turned himself
gear.
into a good shooter.
Yeah, but some guys do that too, and then they top out as average as a shooter or above average as a shooter. I think Sexton, for him, it's like downhill pick and roll. You know, he needs to improve his decision making and playmaking, even maybe more so than the shot. I think.
All right, Tate, you're the tiebreaker.
I think he's gonna bring a youthful. They didn't practice last year. The
Mark
Cavs,
Spears
he was
reporting
bringing
that
some
Knicks
youth, so-
fans at Barclays are chanting, "We want Porter."
Interesting.
Interesting. I can tell you're hedging. You don't know.
I'm just I do think it's a fine pick, like especially if they do redshirt him. Like there's a lot of talent there, there's potential. It is the back injury.
It's been
is terrifying.
amazing to watch him talk himself.
I just don't know what to do.
Knicks fans also booed Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, we don't go by the Knicks fans in the arena.
If they redshirt Porter Jr., he's going to be a club promoter at One Oak by the time he has to play for them.
That's some desktop spice.
Tate, you probably saw a fair amount of Sexton this year. Is it something that like? Can you see him playing in the playoffs next season? Let's say LeBron stays.
He's great in space.
What is
but
that?
but he has to have the ball to be able to make something happen. And
Yeah,
LeBron's not going to give him the ball. This is by
like
LeBron.
it.
That's what I think.
That's good. I think we all thought it was by LeBron anyway.
I think it's good for the Cavs that they didn't make a pick to try to get LeBron to stay.
So if you take Sexton here, do you get rid of Love and start to tear down?
It was by LeBron when he started looking at the same LA schools that my daughter was looking at. That's when it
I was just about to say, I was trying to remember if it was such an open secret that LeBron was going to LA, like guaranteed.
You know,
Colin Cowherd literally had been talking about it for like 8 months at this point. He was like, I've heard from everyone here that he's going to be a Laker. And a lot of people didn't want to, I didn't want to believe it because it was Sixers had cap space. And I was like, oh, he's going to complete the process. We had this whole thing and it obviously was a massive delusion. But it was pretty much known by this point that he was leaving for the Lakers.
having seen some finals games in Cleveland, that's like a really rabid crowd that loves competitiveness and this is the kind of guy they like.
Fans are going to really like Colin Sexton. I think no matter
he'll
where
be
he
diving for loose balls, down 20 with 4 minutes
It'll
left.
change the whole team.
Yeah, I like this guy.
Let's get the Shams up. New York is taking Knox, which would suggest that his slip up today when he was like our coach in reference to David Fizdale was more than just a slip up.
No, Jason.
You seem now you're psyched.
I have a new son, and it's a new son who was rumored to have the son, but he doesn't have one. That was merely a rumor.
It was somebody tried to jump him with the question, right? You were hiding a child, right? And he's
What? I don't remember this.
I only remember the Fortnite jacket. I don't remember.
Cleveland notes before we move on.
I didn't know he had the Drake, different Drake allegations, to be clear.
Rejuvenate his whole career to be able to play with a young guy that's like just got an attitude a little bit. It's going to change the whole Cavs. I'm excited for
God, do you remember when Kevin Knox like destroyed Summer League that first year too? And they were like, God damn, the Knicks did it.
I do just want to, I'm tempering my Khalil Ware expectations because of that, but he really is the only one and done I can remember who was like very clearly one of the best players at Summer League and then just completely sucked in the NBA. Like, it's very rare that ever happened. Like, Donovan Mitchell was really good. Josh Hart was really good, and he wasn't even a one and done. But, like, the guys that perform really well at Summer League tend to be pretty decent NBA players overall. But, by the way, Bias, I DM'd you. Don't feel obligated to stay on. We've been going for 2.5 hours. So if you need to go, you can...
I have to cook dinner soon. Well, I was about to say real quick, the Knicks, I mean, they got Mitchell Robinson in this draft too, so that was nice. But then they got Alonzo Trier. Do you guys remember him?
Yes.
Oh my God, dude.
Ball don't stop favorite.
Yes, I was about to say they got him in undrafted free agent. There was a stretch of time where Ball don't stop. What's Rashad Phillips?
Yes,
Rashad Phillips was making arguments into like January of that season that he was better than Luka Doncic.
He blocked me on Twitter because one time he talked about how people who didn't play shouldn't have opinions on certain things when it comes to like prospects and scouting and stuff. And then I was like, aren't you the guy that said that Alonzo Trier was going to be better than Luka?
Yeah.
And then he blocked me. So
you can't gatekeep who talks about basketball when you have maybe the worst draft pick I genuinely have ever seen.
Ever? Like the worst of all time.
Dude, because I was working in New York at that time, and I like worked at a shelter, and I would like talk with the guys at the shelter. It was a common thing is like was talking about, and Alonzo Trier had like the highest approval rating of any New York Knick like during that time. Like
Buzz was crazy, dude.
They were so much more excited about Trier. Like what I distinctly remember one of my clients talking to me, and he was like, man, we have to get like Knox out of here to like free up and Frankie Smokes to free up the minutes for Trier because he's special. Like,
He was literally released in the middle of the next season too. If I remember correctly. In the season they cut him. So
man, I'm looking. He had a 62% true shooting whenever they released him, and then that was that.
Wow, did he really?
Yeah, I mean, he was rookie year 56%, second year 62%, and then out.
How many games though?
24.
That's kind of surprising. I'll be honest, to have 62% in your second year, and
nobody picked him up,
and he's just never made it back. He's just been like a G League guy. He might even be in Europe now.
I'm trying to remember the last time because I saw it recently and it brought back memories. I want to say it was Ball Don't Stop, but not that long ago there was like Alonzo Trier deserves another chance in the NBA, and it was like his 2018 rookie highlights. And I was like, damn, it's been that long since he's been in the NBA, huh?
Yeah, that's
28 years old. That's crazy. I kind of thought he was going to be like younger than that, but played for the Iowa Wolves.
Apparently, Rashad Phillips was also pushing Cam Reddish over Zion the next year.
Oh, he was a huge Cam Reddish guy.
I remember he compared him to Tracy McGrady, which if you watch, look, I remember Cam is from Norristown, which is right near where I grew up. And if you watched him in high school, you would absolutely think that there's that famous Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Maxey video where Ant's talking about, how amazing Cam Reddish was in high school and how he destroyed everyone. But if you watched him at Duke, it was just very obvious he was not that level of athlete. Like, it was like instantly obvious that he was just not. Once he got to a level where everyone was athletic, he was just not going to be quite as dominant as he was in high school. So the Tracy McGrady comp always made me laugh because Tracy was just such an insane athlete. So
it turned into Paul George. I remember that was the Rashad Phillips. This is Paul George. And he did have that stretch in the playoffs when they made the Eastern Conference Finals and beat the Sixers. Where
he didn't play in the Sixers series, but he in the Eastern Conference Finals, he had one game where he literally didn't miss a shot. He went like 6 for 6 from 3, I think. And everyone was like, is this the Cam Reddish arrival game?
Yep.
And I was like, maybe I was wrong about Cam Reddish. Yeah, every year we get that same thing. Once
Lakers
a year.
Fans have done it now. Like Cam Reddish makes one corner three. It's like, oh shit.
Knicks fans, he had a game-winning shot in one of his first games with the Knicks. As well. We'll always have the once a year is Cam Reddish finally making the leap. So
you gotta love it. Well, I'm gonna hop off, boys.
All right.
Thanks so much for joining
having
us.
me on.
Really appreciate it.
This was a lot of fun. This is the Ringer thing. I wish they did this more. This is genuinely
great content.
It is really good.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
This is like Bill in his element through and through.
Yep. Yeah. Totally in his bag. So thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
A lot of fun.
Peace. All right, let's wrap this up. I gotta get through the at least the SGA pick.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you put him out there.
We need KSC's grade.
Well, we haven't gotten the pick yet. We'll wait for the pick to go down. Kev, anybody?
Still shrugging.
Is it just gospel?
We know it. Yes.
Let's run it.
Shams isn't getting it wrong.
Kevin Knox from Kentucky is going to go to the Knicks.
Oh.
18 years
Who got it
old,
wrong? Oh, it was
first
Jake
players in the
Fisher.
draft.
It's where?
Could be
Fuck, I'm so sorry.
Poor man's Durant, a rich man's Jeff Green. We don't know.
Awesome.
Skilled finisher around the rim, but he maybe
Jeff Green.
Congratulations. But he maybe isn't a great passer. Kevin, give me the grade on the Knicks and Kevin Knox.
Kevin Knox gets a B+ for the
Okay.
Knicks.
There it is.
I like Knox
I like
a lot.
it. Thank you so much.
He's a guy where I had him ranked like 17, and then went back and reevaluated, and it's like, why do I have a 6'8" guy who's a great athlete, only 18 years
Trish your
old,
instincts, Kevin.
shoot off the dribble and create his own shot?
Matthew McConaughey smashing against the glass.
No! It seems like a lot of other teams
Don't fall for the tools, guy.
There was talk of him at 7 for Chicago, and really it was a floor at 11 for Charlotte. So for the Knicks to get him at 9, they're getting a guy who might really not help them this season, but he's going to grow into a guy who I think can really complement Kristaps at a really, really high level.
The pseudo red shirt. Our friend Matt Jones from Kentucky Sports Radio DM'd me, said this guy's going to be really good.
Oh, no.
No, Bill. That's all I need. Jason's so funny, dude.
About SGA, by the way.
And one of the things Knox gets knocked for is his defense, right? And Mike
Correctly.
from DX, he has seen him at lower levels, and he always has remarked that Knox was a really good defender at lower levels, and we saw
Mark
flashes
Schmidt's
of that.
When he's larger than everyone
I
else.
was a pretty good defender at lower levels, actually.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, thank you.
What about last year? Jason Tatum. Oh, his defense. Oh, he's not going to be able to stay in front of everybody. If he's
See?
work hard.
Great, Jason. When do you
Jason
think
Tatum
the
could be your Tatum?
when do you think the Post goes with the Fort Knox headline?
They're writing it up right now. They've got it going. I'm happy about this pick. I'm happy about it. Like, I've been swayed by KOC. I think he has the tools to be the example of a modern basketball player. And here's Adam Silver to tell us all about
I
it.
think he's better than Michael Porter. I do.
Well,
Yeah, that's tough miss.
That's a lot of guys.
Adam Silver sounds surprised about that.
Oh.
All right.
He did. I know, it's our time.
Oh, they
it's okay.
They booed him.
This is good.
This is good.
It's always good
Porzingis.
when John and Vinny from Staten Island Knicks games a year. Yeah, this guy Kevin Knox. We don't like this guy. I never heard of this guy. Give me Michael Porter Jr. with the bad back.
Coach Cal, another
This guy's 5 years older than my daughter, and if she got booed by 20,000 people, she would never recover.
This guy's gonna play small forward for the Knicks. That is wild.
How dare you wear a Porzingis jersey to the draft and boo the next draft pick? I like it.
I do just want to point out here, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander also went to Kentucky, and he did not get a DM about how Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be good in the NBA.
That's tough for that. Maybe that's why that guy doesn't come up as like Bill's friend anymore.
Yeah, exactly. He told me about Kevin Knox, but yeah. Also, Kevin Knox, not even a top 2 Kentucky guy in this draft. Jared Vanderbilt was the second round pick, better NBA player. So
this is a dark day.
I think I had him 17 on my board.
Ooh.
I'm so bummed out.
That's probably right around the range that he's at.
Yeah, I was a Vanderbilt guy.
This is a young team now. This is like Kristaps is like the veteran locker room presence.
Boy, that's good. Well, how dare you besmirch Joakim Noah in this fashion?
Is Lance Thomas still on the team?
Yes.
Lance Thomas. God, that's a remember some name.
Starting
Yep.
guard Ron Baker.
Courtney Lee.
They're way more.
I gotta say, I like this pick too. I
Courtney
have like 3
Lee.
picks in a row.
Goddamn.
You do.
Are you ready to have the should the Sixers take Michael Porter conversation yet or no?
Woj is already targeting. Now the Sixers are targeting Paul Bridges. It's gonna be.
Oh no!
Yeah, well,
Porter's
I think, you know
gonna-
what? But you made this point on the group draft post, right? Or podcast with Bill that like you could take Porter and redshirt him like they always do with somebody, or you could take Bridges, who is a guy that you could say they could play him tomorrow. 3-point shooting, and they could play him tomorrow, and he's not going to hurt you. He's got a low floor or a high floor. I mean, should be.
You think Hinkie would take Porter though?
Definitely.
I don't know. You never know with him. He took Okafor, and I wanted to fall out of my chair.
What does the still balling account say?
Junior, where are you? You don't need another guy with a
Oh man, I forgot. That was during this time.
I know.
Yep, this is Burnergate. This is right after they broke the story.
Some of the guys to still.
This is why we didn't have a GM for this draft. Because it happened about a month before the draft, maybe 2 to 3 weeks before the draft. They fire Colangelo. They have no GM for the draft, and they obviously if they had just done the fucking right thing and sat on Mikal Bridges here, it would have been totally fine. But it is really funny that Philly fans are so obsessed with guys who are from here that we literally pass on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who will probably win an MVP and would have been the perfect fit for what we needed because we missed on Fultz the year before. So to get Shai would have been such a coup here. But because Bridges is from here, we actually drafted him and then we traded him. We never talk about passing on SGA.
You brought up earlier that there was like a Bill Oppenheimer moment earlier. Do you think Dietrich has an Oppenheimer moment about like Burnergate?
Yeah, like oh no, I ruined the team. Yeah, it's definitely possible. Although his podcast becoming so successful was probably due to at least in part to that. So he's like, hey, at least I got something out of it, even if the team is gonna mess for fucking 6 years.
Yeah, so it's like I guess he and Andy are getting cross-examined in the closet, like the Cookies boys are getting cross-examined by the Sixers front office staff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, Uniball Patreon. Don't sign up for the Cookie Hoops Patreon.
No, we're
And
better.
I still feel like we could
Respectfully.
use a couple playmakers. I mean, Chow,
Yeah, that's it. There
That's
you go.
what
You're
I
back.
like.
You're back.
Solidifying the Kevin Knox
anybody,
pick.
rising or falling that you didn't expect here?
I mean, I was kind of hoping for some sort of weird SGA to the Magic vibe because that totally fit.
Ooh.
You know.
About the Magic guy?
Yeah, no, it fits.
Oh,
it
Bill,
fits their role
stop.
of, like tall, long-armed defenders who could
Oof.
maybe shoot, but maybe not. So, I mean, I'm kind of expecting Lonnie Walker to fall a little here.
So Lonnie Walker and SGA both seem like they're falling. Yeah, maybe you think they get past Charlotte? Either one of those guys?
I got a text from someone that is close to Charlotte and said Michael Porter Jr. is their pick.
Kate.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Man,
but oh my
switch.
God, Kate. Breaking
He's just taking L after L.
Yeah, this is big.
Sounds like
Tate
Mike
has been
Bridges is gonna
eating
save
shit
on this one. Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happy.
It seems like such a coach's pick, though, to get like the veteran guy who just fits what they need.
Turns out the coach is running the organization.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Yeah.
So confused.
I have an important question for the back room. How many different verbs can Woj use without tipping the pick? So far, he's used eyeing,
Focusing.
targeting,
Zeroing in.
prefers,
Focusing.
Jason, how many more do we have?
Zeroing in.
Zeroing in. We heard.
How about they? I pulled up a thesaurus. They fancy.
Fancy.
That would be a great one. I hope he does that one.
Our own Robert Mays tweeted at him right now and said, and put a bunch of examples like enticed, fancy, intoxicated by.
Oh,
So there you go.
what about eyeball?
Yeah.
They're eyeballing.
I like it.
So that guy talked, which means Haley literally is
What
the
kind
only
of,
one who didn't talk
reactions
the
did
entire
you get
night.
from the company for that?
That's crazy.
After they were told
She's not
that
even
he
there
was supposed to be
anymore.
tipping.
I think the Stein.
They got rid of her.
Yeah, he can't let
Stein
Stein.
broke that trade.
Yeah, he can't let
Haley,
Stein.
we
That's it.
respect you.
That's it.
That's it. You can't let it. You can't let that happen. You can't let your ultimate. Like,
tell me what to
nemesis do it.
All right, the Sixers are about 90 seconds out. It's a little anticlimactic if it's Bridges.
What was this pick from?
Now that even though I've been,
What trade was this from?
This
isn't your pick.
This is the Lakers.
This is the Lakers
This is
pick.
Lakers.
This is the Lakers pick. This is Michael Carter Williams.
Yep.
This is what they turned Michael Carter Williams into.
That's amazing.
God damn it!
Yeah, if you turn MCW.
Still
I forgot that part.
Yeah.
No,
Turning
I mean,
Michael Carter
what a
Williams into
great
Mikal
trade.
Bridges
Yeah,
would have
10th pick
been.
for Michael Carter
Took
Williams.
a lot of
Goddamn.
balls for Sam Hinkie to make that deal.
Yeah.
Too, right after he
He
won
made
Rookie
great
of the
trades.
Year.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody who actually watched NCW knew he stunk. But to get still have the balls to do that after winning Rookie of the Year, when a lot of fans were happy.
That was like one of the first like real publicly being turned on examples of him being turned on publicly.
Hinkie couldn't draft, but he made great trades. I'm trying to bait guns.
Look.
He just punched me in the leg.
I got all excited all of a sudden. I mean, he did hit on.
Yeah,
he
he's a
did
D
hit on
plus
Embiid,
drafter.
right? He took a.
It's literally.
Bridges.
It's
He
basically
has to
the
take
only
a
one he
beat.
hit on. Though.
He just did the
Jeremy Grant too.
He just did the sipping team meeting like on his own.
Look at Jay Wright. Oh my God.
This
He's
is
like
a great pick.
He's very tan.
wow, Jay Wright is tan. Where's he been?
Future
Where hasn't he
Sixers
been?
coach sitting there with his future star. So beautiful.
Philly had to take him because it was the only college game Brett Brown saw in person.
That's like probably true.
Mikal Bridges.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
All right.
such a Brett pick.
Mikal Bridges,
Great pick.
two-time national
Aw, man.
championship winner at
love it.
Villanova.
Trill can't even
21
look at
years
the
old, so
screen.
people
I'm
are
so
like,
pissed.
he's too
This is
old.
just fucking
Man, this kid
annoying.
can shoot, and he basically has worked his way into being
God.
a really good shooter. I don't know what
He was so happy. There was so many stories about his mom working for the team.
Compared to Robert
Got
Covington.
Tony Snell. Hold on, I want to read off these things.
Tony Snell.
The
Eddie
comps
Jones,
for him are Tony Snell, Robert Covington.
And Eddie Jones, who actually made an All-Star team in his career, if I remember correctly,
That's
and
probably the best
also
one.
was a Philly guy. He went to Temple, I think, and the Lakers drafted him, and he made an All-Star team. So, if you mix together Robert Covington and that guy, it's kind of like like Mikal Bridges, not too far off.
He's even better than these guys. Kevin, what do you think of Mikal Bridges to the Sixers?
It's a B.
Okay.
I like Mikal Bridges. Long, 7'2" wingspan. He can defend. He can shoot threes. For me, the question with him is, what level does he reach as a shooter? There's been some consistency issues, thus the Covington comp for him. And then on defense, sometimes you would like to see him slide his feet a little bit better, considering his length and sometimes his quickness is about average.
Yeah.
And you see guards blow by him at the college level. What happens in the NBA when he's going against elite guards in playoff situations?
He's one of the best guard defenders in the NBA, but yeah.
But he's gonna be very good defensively.
Shit, he just talked me out of it.
How is this? How's this handle? Because one of the problems with Robert Covington is that he has no handle.
Right.
And one of the issues, as we talked about with the Sixers, was in addition to needing shooting, they needed an extra ball handler. So not great from them, is what they're telling me. I still feel like this is a safe pick for the Sixers. This is a team that obviously is ascendant, and like you don't really, if you were going to gamble on somebody like a Michael Porter Jr. and he can't play, like when are you developing him? They're not really in developmental mode anymore.
Yeah.
They're in win now mode. So if this is a guy who can get in there and
To say that right before they make the fucking Zaire Smith trade is just so brutal, dude.
It's so tough, man.
It's so brutal.
Defense and shoot some threes, I'm cool with it.
He's a smart basketball player. He's a good person to add to the team with all that talent. He's not going to take the ball away from anyone. I mean, it's like Trevor Ariza, basically. Just put him in there. He's going to be a young Ariza. He's more athletic than Ariza. So
New Bellinelli?
Well, do you think that the Sixers
No,
get
he's not
ahead of
that
their
good.
skis though? Like, is this the kind of pick you make where you're like, this is like a Jordan Bell type pick, but you're taking him too early in the draft? Like, was there an A
Jordan
out there?
Bell.
He fits. And I mean, I guess the argument would be that they already have
Jordan
a winning
Bell,
product. So
man.
all they need is a guy to slide in there, maybe be the JJ Redick of the future. But I don't know why you ever have to stop being in rebuilding mode.
Yeah.
Why aren't you just lining up the next sort of guys? And Michael Porter Jr., if I already have a team that can compete for the title, why don't I just like bring him along slowly underneath all the guys that are already competing?
Right.
You turn into the Celtics essentially.
Right.
With the second wave of guys.
My cope with this is that they would have ended up trading Mikal Bridges for either Tobias Harris or Jimmy Butler anyway. So
Probably,
that's how I. But then again, if they trade Mikal Bridges for Jimmy Butler, they might be able to keep Robert Covington, and Robert Covington was still pretty good for us when he was like the 5th starter. So
He's so happy though. Can't we be happy for him? It's like
He's psyched, man. He's psyched.
Hey, can I read some tweets?
Yes.
Yeah.
Still Balling said that pick sucked. What the hell is going on?
Never made that choice.
The Sixers are so stupid.
What do you think of this pick?
KOC talked me out of it. I'm out of it now.
KMC just gave him a beat.
Yeah, he's.
I mean,
he's like Luka.
I love how Bill just goes with whatever he feels at the moment.
Yeah, he's awesome, dude. That's why he's the GOAT.
Still subtly trying to undermine the Sixers with every.
I just would have preferred
It's fine.
Miles
Bridges
Bridges,
is nice.
even someone like Zaire Smith.
No, shut up.
KOC.
Zaire can't shoot though, right?
He can jump over like everything.
Yeah,
now.
he can jump over everything. An elite defender, and he's super young.
Yeah, just literally just jump over the entire team.
Zaire's 3 years younger than Mikal Bridges. In age, when it comes to player development, is really the most important factor.
Yeah, he's like 6.
Yeah.
It's a safe pick.
Not
It's a
being
safe
good at
pick when
basketball.
You've only been the GM for 2 weeks and you haven't watched college
And not
basketball.
only that, it's a safe pick to
There's
add
nobody
to
as
their
the
core.
GM. Nobody's
They
safe.
don't have a GM.
Mikal Bridges can play within this context. He can hopefully be another versatile defender for them right away. It helps them win games now. It's just maybe 4 or 5 years from now, you can be kicking yourself if you're going to take Porter.
Can we get
Zaire Smith.
Can we get the camera on Tate?
What's funny about this is they're like, yeah, man, Zaire Smith might be in consideration for all-star teams one day. Mikal Bridges will never be in consideration for
right.
all-star teams
Right.
one day.
God damn. He'll never play in a finals.
How could you even imagine that?
He's definitely not going to play in a finals in the next 3 years.
There we go.
11. Phoenix wants to get back into the lottery to
I
get
knew
in
something was going
SGA.
on. Tate was freaking out.
Thank goodness.
Wait, Phoenix almost traded for SGA?
Wow.
Okay, no. Okay, yeah. So Phoenix wanted to trade up, so they either would have gotten Mikal Bridges or SGA. Oh my God, could you imagine?
No, Miles Bridges.
Look at the screen.
Yeah,
No, but they get
Charlotte.
But they get Mikal Bridges, is my point. Phoenix ends up getting Mikal Bridges. So they were trying to trade up for SGA, but they also traded up for Mikal Bridges. Which is so funny because
they wouldn't have,
because Ryan McDonough shit his pants so many times at the draft, and to then pass on Luka and then almost get SGA.
God damn, dude. The Suns really are like a curse in like how far can you push a fan base before you drive them insane.
A good question here though is if 2 years later, if they have SGA and he's still not showing like after his rookie years when he was traded for Paul George, what if SGA gets traded for Chris Paul anyway?
Oh my god!
But Chris Paul was at like the low point of his value, to be fair, because people were kind of out on Chris Paul after that second Houston year. He had to revitalize his career with OKC. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So.
I'm feeling that was good.
You didn't want to take Michael Porter.
Well, they don't want to take the contract. They don't want to pay anybody, so they don't want to draft someone that they have to pay. So they want to don't want to trade.
What's Phoenix's other pick?
16.
16.
Yeah.
So they go from 11 to 16 and
then
dump
they draft
a contract.
Robert Williams.
Yeah, or then maybe they could also get
hear that?
another second-round pick.
Yeah,
right.
You wanted them to take Robert Williams at 16.
Dude, I can't believe
they're trying to get
Riffsman like all year said he wanted Robert Williams, and like Robert Williams was like always projected in the lottery. Like always in the lottery every time. I was like, I don't care about he has like a tweet. I don't care about these goofies. Bring me Robert Williams, like all one word. Like and like it's one of the biggest like lathe of heaven things I've ever seen in real life, where Riffsman through sheer posting like posted Robert Williams to the Celtics at 29. It was incredible.
And then also invented his nickname that people still call him to this day, Time Lord. Like I feel like that is an underrated NBA Twitter moment. Is that
it was him and Brian. It was him and Brian J. Draft like invented the Time Lord thing. And it was always like misunderstood as like mocking Rob for like
being late.
And that's not what it was. It was that Riffsman was saying that he does not like abide by the
transcends time and space.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So what's late to you, right? Like what's late to you is just like a different like moment. He's like Dr. Manhattan, you know, like he's just like traveling around the thing. So
that's absolutely incredible that people still to this day call it. And like one of the most influential NBA Twitter moments of all time.
Yes, seriously. It's like regularly said on like ESPN broadcasts now. And misexplained on ESPN. It used to make me so mad. Yeah.
I feel like we're losing Tanya. Somebody's got to talk about Kobe for like 30 seconds.
So that's an interesting deal. Tate, do you like that?
Yes.
You like that trade?
I'm totally fine with that. I don't think there's anyone on the. They wanted Sexton. He's not on the board. They wanted Knox. He's not on the board. They wanted Gilgeous-Alexander. He doesn't want to go there. So with all that being said,
you can't draft Shea because he doesn't want to go there. It's the draft.
Alexander.
He was
he doesn't want to go there.
He was their number one guy. They tried to get an interview and a workout, and he basically just blew him off. So
why wouldn't you want to go there? Oh, SGA had like that weird run of like not working out for teams, right?
Yeah, I don't think he worked out with anyone.
Who the hell is he? What did he do? Everything was he win 2 tournament games?
My main thing is he kind of took the Dion Waiters route of 2011.
Oh.
Kind of shut down everything for a month, and everyone was just like, "Ooh, who is this guy?"
We get a big Mark Stein tweet. He says, league sources say the Clippers have been trying to lure the Spurs into Kawhi Leonard trade talks with an offer featuring 2 lotto picks and Tobias Harris, but it appears they'll be making the 12th and 13th picks for themselves.
Oh, that's a dick tweet.
Oh my God! So they almost traded for Kawhi a year early.
Yeah.
And they would have traded. Oh my God. Fuck you, Greg Popovich, for not taking Tobias Harris so that we
Oh my God, yeah, it would have saved you.
No, there's so many things from this night that ruined my goddamn fucking life, dude. So could have potentially saved.
They still would have had to trade SGA, but then they don't have the package because then they could wait, no.
Because they would have traded 12 and they had 2 lottery picks.
Well, was Paul George extended at this point?
No, he was still a free agent, but he extended like a week later with OKC.
I wonder if that was like part of the thing with this draft is like maybe they were trying to do the Kawhi Paul George like package deal a year early. Yeah.
My God. And then maybe the Spurs draft SGA.
God damn, dude.
Wow.
Fuck. Well, they end up drafting Lonnie. Did they just draft Lonnie Walker early?
Yeah, he's like the 17th pick in this draft or something, maybe like the 18th pick or something. But wild.
That was the Spurs didn't pick up the phone, so we called Mark Stein. They're not picking up the phone for 12 and 13 Tobias Harris.
You know what though?
Would have been better off.
Really like Michael Porter, and somehow
the Spurs?
No, the Clippers. So the guy that they may have been trying to trade up for somehow falls to them at 12 because of the injury concerns and him comparing himself to KD and Giannis and Tracy McGrady, and then saying it's an honor.
What the fuck's going on with this broadcast?
Yeah, they like didn't have the audio right for this.
Look at go run.
That Steve Ballmer saw in high school, and all of a sudden love. Yeah.
When you put it that way, it's pretty stark.
Is there a chance that he leaked this stuff out though for him
Porter?
to fall to get to the Clippers to play for Ballmer because he loves Ballmer? They love each other. We saw that when he was on your podcast.
Oh, that's right.
They're boys?
This conspiracy theory.
What?
So Ballmer's making the picks instead of
Ballmer
Jerry
and Michael
West
Porter
and
Jr. are
Doc
boys.
Rivers.
Right, walk really stiffly down the front of the stage.
They said earlier it's because Michael Porter Jr. is a Seattle guy. I didn't even know that he was a Seattle guy. I completely forgot that.
I kind of remember that. But we know. Oh,
He's he is he had the Hooper gene, which is the Seattle players all have like a little bit of a bag. But yeah.
Westlake Porter.
Just break off your cast like the Rock.
Right, all of a sudden just be like,
seven.
So you think that's why he limped down the steps?
yeah, right, just to get to the Clippers.
Can you imitate the Porter walk?
Yeah, do it again.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh my.
You should have had a cane.
Making sure your mic didn't fall. I was worried.
So the Hornets are on the clock,
Shot, Kevin.
but we've got some trade activity happening. I wonder if they'll happen before or after this trade. Here comes Adam Silver.
I mean,
I think they're going to take Gilgeous Alexander, and then it'll be a trade.
And then look to move him. Yeah.
It's funny how the team he doesn't want to play for is going to have to walk across the stage wearing the hat, the interview wearing the hat.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
SGA goes to Charlotte, but will be traded, we think.
What do we think of this?
It will. The
God,
NBA
Tate.
needs to change.
Tate,
this.
LVP.
Why is the rule like this so that they do it this way? Well,
It is a bad rule.
First, we got SGA from Kentucky, 19-year-old.
Let's hear what he has to say about him.
14 points a game, 5 assists a game. Athletic at 6'6", really modern point guard, 180 pounds. He's got great instincts in the pick and roll. Maybe some issues mechanically with this shot. Some people have compared him to
Patrick McCaw
MCW
is a comp for him.
Charitably. Kevin,
And Michael Carter Williams. Oof.
what's the grade for SGA?
He's literally just a big point guard.
Right.
Assuming that trade goes through, I
B
think Gilgeous
plus?
Alexander, not my favorite point guard in this draft, but 6'6" with a near 7-foot wingspan.
How do you have those comps and then say that's a B plus? It sounds like you're trying to say he's dog shit.
Yes, yes.
Really good in the pick and roll for a young point guard. I think with him, it's an interesting fit because he can cover up for some of Devin Booker's defensive weaknesses, and he can, I think, really help pick and roll defense with DeAndre Ayton.
Oh, they're talking about
Phoenix. They think Phoenix is getting him.
Man, what if?
I love it for Phoenix. They're really building a nice, impressive core
If
moving forward.
SGA and Elfrid Payton played horse, would the game ever end?
Oh my God.
It's a great question.
Which is so funny because SGA is one of the best mid-range shooters in the NBA now.
League pass
Yeah.
team for next year. They have the starting five who are all like 24 years old. This is going to be a really fun team for the next couple of years.
People are joining me in the Phoenix
I'm
Suns
in.
Island,
Danny,
baby. I'm excited.
Wait.
7 seconds or sons, you like it?
I forgot about this. I thought Miles Bridges went with that pick.
No,
Shea goes with that pick, and they like trade down with everybody.
Yep,
Wow.
Miles Bridges was drafted by the Clippers.
Wow.
And then they traded him on draft night for SGA.
We're on Team SGA back.
No one actually knows how to say his name.
Hold
so
up.
I'm glad that
Yeah.
we're
Shea Gilgeous Alexander.
Trade alert.
It's easier to say
I've
SGA.
only been calling him SGA. I'm gonna try that.
Trade alert.
Trade.
There we go.
Clippers have acquired Gilgeous Alexander in a trade with the Hornets.
Oh.
Never mind, Suns.
So much for the Suns.
And for what?
Don't ever watch the Suns on League Pass.
Yeah.
Please be Tobias Harris.
Oh, fuck!
So, what was the clip? Don't they have a
Yeah,
second
man.
round pick?
they're-
12 pick.
Tate's
and
taken
2
so many
second-round
L's.
Picks to the Hornets.
I love it.
To get one
The process. It's
Hey,
happening.
Jerry West likes
Cup check time.
SGA, man.
Cup check time.
Love it.
Oh, just accumulating
Yeah,
assets.
that's all we're doing.
Yeah.
You got
God, that did you hear that? He Charks just said Jerry West likes SGA. Like Jerry West, man. What an all-time drafter.
Yeah.
What an all-time fucking swing there to take that pick.
Mozgov in a couple of seconds now.
Yeah.
Huge trade up. That's probably one of the biggest like one pick trade ups of all time.
Yep.
Who are they taking, Tate?
I would guess Porter, but I don't know. I think it's going to be Porter.
Or Miles
No,
Bridges.
they're not taking a Puma guy.
You think Porter's gonna drop this
No way.
low, man?
Puma goes Porter goes 13
to the Clippers, and you think 12 they take Robert Williams?
This has Miles Bridges written all over
Yeah,
it.
this is a Jordan. If it's Miles Bridges,
You're
that's a
19
Jordan.
straight power forward.
Yeah.
You're
So
taking
the Clippers have traded with
Yeah.
Clippers traded with the Hornets
Yeah.
to get SGA. So now the Hornets are picking again, essentially.
Yes.
Okay.
Right behind.
Who does SGA look like? He looks like about 7 different celebrities.
It looks like that'll be Miles Bridges to the Hornets.
That's not a bad
pick.
Yeah.
I've officially gotten to that part in the first round where I've sat so long that my hip feels like Michael Porter's.
Miles Bridges is like MKG, but he can actually shoot. He's versatile. He plays.
Can we go
defense.
through all the Charlotte front court guys?
Marvin Williams,
let's do it.
Miles Bridges, Frank Kaminsky.
God,
Cody
Marvin
Zeller,
Williams
Willie
is still on the
Hernangomez.
team at that point.
Timothy Mozgov.
Oh God.
What?
He's
They
not
probably
playing.
have.
Mozgov's not playing.
They probably have a Plumlee somewhere in reserve.
Oh, we got rid of the Plumlee, thank God. That was for
So you have
Dwight.
6 front court guys in a league where everybody is going small. Congratulations.
You forgot about him.
Who?
I said,
Zeller.
you know,
Oh, you could trade Zeller to Indiana though. That's
what
going to happen.
That's the move, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we got to
They'll
do.
take him.
Yeah, we got to dump him.
The SGA and Malik Monk backcourt would have been fun. So that's a bummer.
that's a pretty good first trade or second trade actually by Mitch Kupchak to hold the Clippers hostage,
Yeah.
get 2 second-round draft picks just for them to trade up 1 spot to get Gilgeous-Alexander. I like it.
Because they thought that the Hornets wouldn't take him just because he ignored them. And they were just like, no, we're still going to
You
take
think
him.
Jerry West was like, Mitch, you're doing this. I gave you every break in life you've ever had.
I do like that they're that's actually hilarious.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
I do like that they are like they're really like worrying about them trading 2 second-round picks to trade up 1 spot, and it ends up being for a guy that's like a future MVP candidate.
I know, it's so funny.
But the process is not good there.
Yeah, it's bad process.
Yeah.